It has magical fairy dust on their damn tires. I don't know. We clearly have more homework to do with this, because there's... Yeah. Oh, I don't know. So, the game clearly isn't totally realistic. That's fine. And now we have to tailor our expectations for that, because, yeah. Because if we keep playing it and we keep expecting, you know, it to work how it does in real life, we're going to get disappointed, so... Oh, man, that sucks, dude. Okay, well, let's make up for it by watching some spacecraft dock to the ISS. Okay. Guys, I'm going to take 10 minutes. I'm just going to go use the restroom real quick.
Another milestone as we approach the International Space Station ahead of docking. Now, if you are following along with us and would like to ask a question, please be sure to do so. You can use the hashtag AskNASA, and we'll answer as many as we can while we're on air. So let's see if we have any Ask NASA questions right now that have came in. All right, it looks like we do have one from Bob O'Dare Jr. who wants to know, what time did Crew-5 wake up? Well, typically, the crew has a prescribed sleep and wake cycle that they utilize on the journey uphill.
Discovery,
but for Crew-5, they had a rest period or an off-duty time period, so they were able to get out of their spacesuits, get comfortable, and get some rest. They did wake up earlier this morning, a little earlier than expected, which makes complete sense. It's probably a little bit like Christmas morning for them. They're eager to get the day started and get docked.
Looks like we have another question. What kind of meals do the astronauts eat prior to docking? Do they get to choose their meals? And this comes to us from KC7Z1E.
So the crew has a variety of different meals that they have the option to eat while they are in space. Now, there is two real different types of meals it's important to distinguish between. While in Dragon, they have something similar to an MRE or a meal ready to eat that they can easily eat on the journey uphill. Once they do arrive to the space station, they have rehydratable food that has been dehydrated in our food lab in Houston. And they have a variety of different foods that they can eat: macaroni and cheese, different meat products, pasta. Our food scientists really try and keep the menu different for the crew so that they are excited about what they have to eat. If you think about, they're up there for 6 months at a time. Oftentimes they don't have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Those things can come up occasionally on cargo resupply missions, but we do hear a lot from the crew that that's something that they miss. So the food scientists in the food lab do try and keep it very interesting and help the crew be excited about their food. And then, of course, the crew will plan out their menu and the meals that they would like before their mission. And sometimes they'll swap out with it is the International Space Station, so we do have an international crew, so that comes with different types of foods for those different areas. So sometimes there's some trading back and forth that goes on as well.
Yeah, I love the Twitter feed come the holiday seasons for the International Space Station because we see the crew actually sharing meals together, really just like passing things around so that everybody can get a taste for whatever holiday it is being celebrated on the ISS. And I like that the crew gets to share a taste of home and also get to maybe try some new flavors as well.
Yes, exactly. All right, it looks like we have another question from Hillary. And she said, I heard earlier in the broadcast that some science payloads were flying up on Dragon with Crew-5, but missed the details. What new experiments are they carrying up to the space station? Well, we could talk about this question for the rest of the broadcast because it truly is the International Space Station, and the point of it is to do science research and investigations. So throughout the Crew-5 mission, there's over 200 science experiments that the crew is going to work on. So of course, we can't get into all the details about those, but I do highly encourage folks to follow along with us on social media. The ISS research account goes through a lot of that. And then we just had the 2022 version of Benefits for Humanity come out that
looks
lists
so cool. Yeah.
a plethora of science that has been done on board the space station and how it directly benefits us here on Earth. So check that out if you're interested. But some of the highlights are life science in cardiovascular health, particularly bioprinting and fluid behavior and microgravity to help prepare for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit and to benefit life here on Earth, like I said.
Super cool. Now, the next milestone that we have coming up for the crew is that mid-course maneuver that's coming up in a little over 3 minutes. As we mentioned before, this is an opportunity to make sure that the Dragon spacecraft is still on the right trajectory, heading toward the International Space Station. Everything is super choreographed and controlled as Dragon approaches and also when it departs space station. So basically, the next couple hours are filled with various maneuvers, burns, and checkpoints that Dragon has to get through and approvals in order to ultimately make that final contact with the station.
And then a couple of other things are going to happen as we continue to get closer to the space station. So once we do dock in a short time from now, there will be the soft dock that happens first, and that is when we have initial capture and contact with space station. And then a short time later, the hooks will drive in, which connects us through a hard mate to the space station. And that's when all 12 of those hooks will clamp together and we'll have that great connection. And it does happen in 2 sets of 6. So we'll see the first 6 close and then the next 6. But like you said, we're still a little ways away from that. We are looking ahead to the mid-course maneuver here in just a couple of minutes from now.
That's great. There on your screen, you can see Mission Control here in Hawthorne. Sandra and I are sitting on the 2nd floor in SpaceX headquarters, and that Mission Control Center is just over our shoulders here. That is where the SpaceX team is monitoring Dragon and the crew. It's also only half the puzzle piece. Of course, the Mission Control Center over at Houston is also part of the mix. We had updates from Shaniqua Vereen earlier in the broadcast, and it really goes to show, as I mentioned before, just everything being highly controlled. Both teams very integrated with these operations along with the crew in space. Earlier, we heard some communication happening between here Mission Control as well as Dragon. Though that communication that we heard was actually with the SpaceX Crew Operations and Resources Engineer, or CORE. That person for this shift right now is Jake Vendel. Of course, we have people on console 24/7 while Dragon is in orbit. And so we basically have various shifts, and this shift's core is Jake Vendel. And there are actually, you see him on the left-hand side of your screen.
And we are hearing that we're just about a minute away from the start of the mid-course maneuver. Again, this can be a small burn or it could be a significant correction. It really just fine-tunes the approach to reach waypoint 0. And so that swing from approach initiation to waypoint 0 is pretty big. So this is just that chance to really fine-tune, make sure everything is looking as it should as we move ahead to docking.
Absolutely. Now, as we mentioned before, we are taking your questions, so reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag AskNASA. We would like to take as many questions as we can get through. We are a little bit more than an hour away from docking of Crew to station. And yeah, we've taken a couple questions so far, and we would love to get more as the broadcast continues.
So we are standing by to hear that mid-course maneuver has begun. Endurance is about 2 kilometers from...
Station Houston on Fish Ground 2 for Chell and window shutters.
Down 2.
Hey,
Down 2.
Ready KU. Hey, Chell, we've had some ready KU, so we just wanted to confirm that you're able to get those window shutters closed in cupola and lab.
Affirmative. Shutters are closed. Shutters are closed both in the lab and the cupola. Thanks.
We copy. Thank you.
And
Thank you. And I am complete with the tool setup through step 7. See that Pluto came on board to help with SSC 727 with the MPEG streaming tool.
We copy. Thanks for the status.
And you just heard those words from the ground up to NASA astronaut Chell Lindgren discussing the shutters in the cupola. The cupola is that window to the world. It's one of the places that the astronauts love to hang out when they have free time, because you have a beautiful view of the Earth floating by below you, but it does have shutters on it that can be open and closed, and for docking operations they want to be sure that those are configured closed. So he was just giving a confirmation of that. So again, we are just seconds away from the mid-course maneuver beginning. And the mid-course maneuver is underway. So we did just start that mid-course maneuver, which again is done about halfway from our starting point of the approach initiation to Waypoint 0. This burn helps to fine-tune our approach to ensure we're targeting a precise point 400 meters directly below the station.
Once Dragon arrives at 400 meters below station, it will be at what is known as Waypoint 0 and will be the first checkpoint during our approach. The vehicle can hold here at 400 meters, but if all of its systems check out, we can continue the approach to Waypoint 0. Now, we are hearing that mid-course maneuver was completed, the next major activity that we have is that approach 0, and about a little bit more than 16 minutes until that point.
And so once Endurance does dock to the space station, this will be its second time docking to the space station. It last docked there just shy of a year ago on November 11th of 2021, and that was with Crew-5, of course, and that was NASA astronauts Rajachari.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop, mid-course correction maneuver complete and nominal. Trajectory is converged on Waypoint 0.
I can copy.
And you just heard those words there that the mid-course maneuver was successful and went just as planned, so we are still on track for docking today. As I was saying, so once Endurance docks, this will be its second time on station. It last docked there on November 11th of 2021, and it just undocked on May 5th of this year, so it hasn't even been a year since it's been on station, so pretty neat that it's going to be back again.
All right, so as we mentioned, we are taking your questions on social media using the hashtag AskNASA, and it looks like we have another one coming our way. This one comes to us from Jordan T. How fast is Drew Dragon, although I like that name, I think it's a typo, Crew Dragon traveling at the time of docking? Yeah, this is a great question. In order to catch up and really stay in orbit, it has to be going just as fast as the International Space Station, which is about 17,500 miles per hour. So the whole idea is to go fast enough to basically not fall back to Earth. So yeah, it's going pretty fast. And it's incredible to think that it really gets up to that velocity in just a matter of minutes after it lifts off from Earth.
That's right, and it looks like we do have another question here that is asking, why does the flight to the space station take 24 hours? So we did touch on this earlier. It's all based upon the phasing and where the International Space Station is at the time of launch. We do launch from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, so depending on when that launch window is, sometimes it can be a shorter launch to docking phasing, sometimes it's a little bit longer. For this particular one, it's going to be about 29 hours from launch to docking.
Yeah. Similarly, on Dragon's ride home, it kind of depends on a lot of things. Orbital mechanics being one of them, but also weather. So sometimes the return journey to Earth can take a matter of a couple of hours, or excuse me, a few hours to, depending on weather at the splashdown locations, could take up to 24 or even a few more hours. So yeah, everything really has to do with orbital mechanics and trying to get to.
Did I watch the Deorbit Burn vid? Yeah, it's been linked a couple of times already. You want to see? Get some good deep breaths in. I went on a walk, dude. Yeah, I'm still a little pissed off, but oh well. What is this footage of? Well, these are a bunch of Starlink satellites. And if you look at that spec right there, that's a Falcon 9 second stage. And that's a Falcon 9 second stage deorbiting. Doing a deorbit burn. Yep. Pretty cool, huh? Was that real time? Yes. Falcon 9 second stage has insanely high TWR because Carolocks. It's so unreal seeing things that move in space. I agree, yeah.
To be able to tell
right,
how Dragon
let's
is
flip back over to Crew-5 coverage here.
Absolutely, and in this view here of the International
They have
Space Station, you
upward-facing
can make out
engineering
the
camera
solar
style.
arrays. Those are those pieces on either side.
Am I playing Kerbal?
Now, right now, Dragon is
human
getting
space
its power
program, dude.
from its own
See?
solar arrays that are found on the trunk of the vehicle.
This IVA view.
But once it does
Pretty
dock
good, right?
to space station, some umbilicals will be hooked up, which will provide power from the space station. So at that point, Dragon will be configured to be receiving its power from the space.
What's the difference between Merlin and Merlin vacuum besides the nozzle? The Merlin vacuum is basically, dude, I'm still all right, full disclosure. I'm still pissed, T-Man. I'm still pissed off. Just gotta let it simmer for a little bit. Just watch Crew-5, man. Just watch Crew-5. I'm still a little mad. Long story short, the nozzle is the difference. Yeah, the nozzle, but also how it cools. It has a couple of other things, but mostly it's basically a Merlin 1, but it used to literally just be a Merlin 1 with a bigger nozzle. But yeah, it's not anymore. They've diverged the design and made optimizations to the Merlin design for vacuum and for sea level. So it might as well be its own engine now, but it's based off of the Merlin. The nozzle's not just the only change. There's a bunch of other things, dude.
That we are continuing the approach towards Waypoint 0. This is that first checkpoint that we will have today, and we'll be able to proceed, or we could hold here if we needed to. So at this point, if we did lose control of Dragon for some reason,
careful, sir, don't steal NASA's vids.
we would move inside the keep out sphere.
And it looks like that is a view from station
I need to take another
of
walk.
Dragon.
I'll be right back.
So there we can see planet Earth rotating as Dragon catches up to the space station. As I mentioned before, I love views like this because it kind of shows just how grand all the operations are. As we've said multiple times, everything is very controlled and choreographed, and it's pretty cool to see Dragon just get closer and closer. We saw the crew in their seats earlier, all strapped in with their suits on. But as I mentioned before, I would personally just want to have my face against the window the whole time, just looking out.
And this view that you are seeing, Dragon and the International Space Station are flying 266 Statute miles off the coast of Australia.
I'm back.
Looks like they're just about to cross over into Tasmania. Now, the International Space Station travels 17,500 miles per hour and orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, which means the crew on board the station sees a sunrise and a sunset every 45 minutes. So when you think about it like that, it really puts it into perspective just how fast the crew is traveling.
And it looks like Cronus is trying to zoom in for us.
F1 manager handed me
that the nose cone, it has been deployed. We did that several minutes after liftoff.
F1 manager pissed me off.
I think it was around 12 minutes or so.
F1 manager got a little bit under my skin. The new tire dig strategies make the game a lot more difficult, dude. And yeah, game kind of screwed me at the end because, yeah, simulation isn't a simulation and it's based off of numbers, so I got docked like 4 positions in the final 20 feet of the race. And it pissed me off. It pissed me off. They changed the way the tires the way the cars the way that the tires degrade on the cars, but it's yeah, it didn't work how it's supposed to work in real life. It was slightly off, but then again, I can't prove that. I must have missed something, fellas. But, yeah. 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 Yeah, it screwed me over. I was in 4th, and my guy ran out of fuel going across the finish line, sir, and it basically stopped his car when he ran out of fuel. Like, the car went, eh. He crossed the timing line on the track in 4th, but it stopped the car, and then the 3 cars passed him, and then the race ended, and he came in 9th. Or 8th, or whatever. Yeah. Dude, you can watch the clip. It's ridiculous. Like, he went across the timing line in 4th, and yeah, it didn't count it. It's very frustrating because I spent a lot of time making sure the strategy was right. And I got lucky with a safety car. I'm not going to lie to you. I got really lucky with a safety car. But yeah, I was like laser focused on that whole thing, and I was watching tire dig rates. I wasn't talking. I was trying to manage all the numbers in my head. And I got him to 4th. I got the guys to 4th and 9th, or 4th and 8th, and yeah, just ended up coming in, I don't know, it was 7th or 8th or 8th and 9th or something stupid. Yeah, no, it pissed me off, dudes. Yeah, game got under my skin. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes, man. Oh, man, I really wish I had a punching bag right now. I'd be laying that thing out Tyson style, you know what I'm saying? But just gotta let it simmer. Gotta let it simmer. Gotta deal with it. Take the hit. It's fine. I don't know if it's a bug or anything, Aqualex. I'm not sure. That's what's bothering me the most. There's something that I didn't take into account. Like, he crossed the line. Like, it went from 0.1 to 0 to nothing in, like, on his fuel. If you look at Kevin's fuel, it went from 0.1 to 0 to nothing like that. Literally in about 200 feet, which makes no sense. You don't burn 200 grams of fuel in that amount of time. Like, I'm sorry, it's not really how cars work. But then again, the game isn't really realistic either, because the 3 guys that were ahead of Kevin, third, second, and first, were literally running flat tires and pulling away from us. Like, it is what it is, dude. Yeah, and like that's what pisses me off the most. Is it something that I missed? Did I miss something? I mean, obviously I missed the fuel consumption, but that's never happened before. I've had them cross the finish line I'm pretty sure I had them cross the finish line with like 0.0 kg before. That's happened. It's happened before, but I've never seen a car when it ran out of fuel just stop. Like, Kevin went from going like 180 miles an hour to like 20 in about 50 feet. And it just happened to be right across the line, which... fellas, I think I'm going to restart. I don't know if I broke the game. I don't know if it glitched. I don't know if the game is working as intended. I don't know if that's how it reads fuel. Like, that's... The not knowing where I made a mistake is what's pissing me off. Like, did I screw up? I don't think I screwed up, but I may have. That's what's the most annoying, dude. Like, that period of time after you failed miserably, like, where you don't know what you did wrong. I'm like, I don't know what I did wrong. What did I do wrong? Dude, we got him to 4th and 9th with the new in 1.9 in the new patch. How did? Oh, it hurts so much. I get it. I'm taking the game too seriously. I understand. You gotta remember, it's my job to play video games. I have to take it seriously, okay? I know it sounds dumb, but how often do I get annoyed at a game? Like, that doesn't happen very often, you know? It's just, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, Aqualex, I don't know. We'll figure out where we made a mistake. But yeah, guys, I think I'm going to restart.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I think I'm going to restart, dudes. Just for the sheer fact that the board confidence, the board's expecting me to win races because of how we did it pre-patch. How we were working pre-patch. And there's no chance that's happening anymore. So, yeah, it's just going to be downhill from here with that season because I can't perform like we did last season. I'll just restart. It sucks. I don't want to, but it is what it is. Hey, Vazia, 43-month resub. Like I said, you might be missing something with the tires, but that ending, no way that would have happened. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Did the patch fix anything? No, it made some things better. But yeah, there's still some things I don't understand. I don't understand, like, and as when I say I don't understand, I mean I actually don't know what's going on. I thought I had a good grip on how the strats were playing out. And how the tire wear goes, but clearly I didn't. Clearly, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But here's the thing. I don't want to sit here and keep analyzing it when I'm annoyed, because that's bad analysis on what you did wrong because I'm pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense trying to figure it out right now, dudes, because I might be a little bit biased in my favor right now. Am I right? Here, look at this instead. Here, look at this instead. Yeah, I don't think about it objectively. You don't want to try to do any analysis when you're tilted. That's not a good idea at all. Wow. Well, that's pretty neat. Yeah, Neo, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another shot. All right, they're at Waypoint 0. We've seen it, Ordon. Pretty cool, huh? Looks just like Kerbal.
Flying over some beautiful views, like you mentioned. It's 262
not
statute
the space shuttle,
miles,
that's true.
approaching Port Via as well as Fiji. So that explains the beautiful, beautiful views we were seeing.
Yeah, you don't get mad at games except for, you know, pretty much all of them. Yeah, you know, Tessa, you know what helps when someone's pissed off? Being a dick. That really helps. That really, yeah, that calms the person down. Am I right? No, it doesn't. It just makes it worse. Thank you for making it worse. I appreciate it. Asshole. Thanks. I'll take my time out. Thank you very much.
And we have just reached waypoint 0, which means Dragon is now 400 meters directly below the space station. And we can definitely see it now in these views coming from the International Space Station. So coming up, Dragons move from waypoint 0 to waypoint 1. We'll swing it up and out in front of the station. We'll then pause at a distance of approximately 220 meters. And at this point, we will be on what we call the docking axis, which essentially means it's directly in front of the docking port. We did already hear the teams do a go, no-go poll for this approach, and everything remains go.
Oh, teacher's hand over.
At this time, Dragon is now 392 meters away from the International Space Station.
Don't insult my craft, Hydrolox. If you don't like how I do things, get the fuck out of here.
Great view.
You know how hard
of
it is to
Dragon
do an
there, once again,
explanation,
from
listen
the
to this
top
and
down.
the loop at the same time?
As
I don't
we
think you could do it.
before, we keep that nose cone closed through the ascent portion of the mission, and then we open it up while Dragon is in the vacuum of space. It's able to provide protection for the various sensors that are used to help Dragon steer itself. So all the guidance, navigation, and control systems. It also protects the forward hatch, which is what, as I mentioned before, it's what we use to dock to the space station. So it's pretty cool, and I think it's pretty neat that basically the side hatch, which is we were able to see it just moments ago whenever we had a little bit more sunlight reflection over there, but it's cool to think that the side hatch, which is what
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop, we see the onboard for GNC RelNav. No crew action required. Both Dragon eyes locked on to mismatching reflectors and are now locking onto their correct targets. Standby 1.
Okay, Dragon Eyes is the two-way communications that...
Speaking of those sensors, it sounds like those Dragon Eyes, which are one of the sensors, there's actually two of them, two of those Dragon Eyes, they are locking on to the appropriate sensors on station at this point in time. So as I was saying, so that forward hatch is what the crew will basically ingress and egress the station from to get in and out of the Dragon capsule to station. The side hatch, which was used for crew ingress yesterday while the vehicle was
they had a
on
mismatched
top of the
sensor
rocket
lock,
at pad 39A.
but they've changed it
that
now.
hatch will remain closed until Dragon splashes back down on Earth. So as we mentioned before.
So right now, Maru, Dragon is controlling the spacecraft. Actually, the spacecraft's controlling itself. The people in Hawthorne, where Kate is, the commentator, right there, they're just monitoring all the systems. Dragon should be doing this all automatically. Hold on.
Dragon copies. We see approach 0 and good Dragon Eye.
Yes, I know. And then NASA is controlling the space station. So NASA's monitoring the space station, getting the space station ready for docking. SpaceX is watching Dragon, and Dragon is is basically automated. It should be automated all the way to docking interface. Right now they're at waypoint 0, which is basically kind of hovering below the space station. Once they get past waypoint 0, they're in a coplanar elliptic
So as we mentioned before,
orbit.
we have
So
been
it's
taking your
it's
questions via social.
it's a coplanar elliptic orbit, which means that the eccentricity is actually it's coplanar inclination. I mean, the right way to say it is that Dragon is in a slightly eccentric orbit and the ISS is in a circular orbit. And the differential eccentricity is what's going to make it look like Dragon is flying around the ISS. What they're really trying to do, waypoint 0 is like right below the space station. Dragon will execute a burn post waypoint 0. I mean, I'm pretty sure it already did it. And it'll look like Dragon is kind of going up in front of the space station. And what they're going to do is align with the VNAV, I think is what it's called. No, that's not what it's called. It's called VBAR. VNAV is planes. It's going to align with the station's VBAR. Basically, align with the way the Dragon will get into, like, out in front of the ISS and align with the VBAR. The VBAR axis is just the axis forward and back that it's going. So it's prograde and retrograde. So it's going to line up on the ISS prograde axis. And then from there, it'll start moving into dock. But they use differential eccentricity to do the maneuvers here. So it's not like Kerbal where you kind of get near it and then you maneuver around it, right? What Dragon is doing is it's doing a prograde burn here to increase the apogee up to the same altitude as the ISS. And basically they're putting the AP of their eccentric orbit out in front of the ISS. So it'll appear like Dragon is doing this. It's basically going to go out and in front of the space station and then dock. We got to wait for a VBAR alignment, though. VBAR alignment, you'll know it when it happens. It'll be out in front of the space station, and then it'll come in and dock.
Artemis program and then on to Mars. We have to make sure that humans are healthy when they are in a microgravity or a different gravity environment on Mars. And so this mission will continue to help us learn all about that.
Moving out in front of the station.
Yeah,
here.
Gravity is kind of something that we take for granted here on Earth. Even something as simple as your vision.
It's locked in right now, Seven. It's not very far. It's a LiDAR system, so it's got to be relatively close.
Got another question. This one comes to us from Rohan87. Love the Lord of the Rings reference there. After successful docking, how many minutes it take to enter into International Space Station? How are they prepared for this?
So it does take a little bit of time. There are a few procedures that...
Dragon, SpaceX, on the big loop, we do see approach 0 in progress with trajectory converged on waypoint 1. Expect arrival at waypoint 1 at approximately 2044 UTC, and we cleaned up your board there after that on board.
18 minutes to waypoint 1. Waypoint 1 is the VBAR alignment that I was talking about.
Copies, and we see the cleanup. Thanks.
Depends on which docking port it's going to, Jack, but more or less, yeah.
It does take a little bit of time.
So if they're docking to PMA 2, which is at the very front of the station, sticking out the front, which is where this is going, you're going to align to the station's VBAR. If you're going to PMA 3, which is on the top of the ISS, it's on the top of node 2. So, like, at the front of the ISS, you have PMA 2 pointing forward, and then you have PMA 3 pointing up. If you're going to PMA 3, right, you're going to do a very similar thing, but you're not going to align with the VBAR. You're going to align with the station's R-bar, the radial axis of it. So if we're going to speak Kerbal terms here, the triangles, it's going to go up above the space station and then come down and dock. So it's going to go into a slightly higher orbit than the ISS by maybe a couple, like 100 feet or something. But it depends. It depends on where the capsule's going. Waypoint 1 can be an R-bar or a V-bar alignment. It could be either one. It depends on where it's going.
Dragon is about 220 meters away from the space station and directly in front of the docking port.
That's correct, Havix.
The crew is docking to the Node 2 forward port during today's mission. And before they move any further at this point, they will need the permission to move into the keep out sphere.
No, T-Man. This one was 24 hours, Ilya. Permission to move into the keep out sphere question. Dude, I do not want to talk about Formula One right now. I do not want to talk about Formula One at all. No. No.
Dragon now closing in on 300 meters from the International Space Station.
Waypoint 1 is next.
As we've mentioned before, this maneuver from Waypoint 0 to Waypoint 1 basically swings Dragon up and out in front of the station. It pauses at a distance of approximately 220 meters. At that point, it will be on what we call the docking axis, which essentially means that it's directly in front of the docking port.
See, V-bar alignment. Oh, what a shot.
And it is really important that we have these different waypoints because they allow the team to really evaluate the status of the vehicle, the readiness of the space station to receive it. And we do have these checkpoints for all visiting vehicles.
Nothing yet, Limprod. It should be either the end of this year or early next year.
And we're continuing to get good views of Dragon as it approaches the International Space Station. International Space Station is currently flying 260 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean. It is approaching the very northern tip of Hawaii.
Oh, nice. Look. Look at this. Oh, man. That's pretty cool.
As we've mentioned before, SpaceX flight controllers, which are based here in Hawthorne, are working in tandem with the NASA team in Houston to make sure that everything is going accordingly with Dragon as it continues this controlled approach to station.
And there you do see that very northern tip of Hawaii that we mentioned.
Dude.
Again,
aloha.
Dragon and the International Space Station flying about 260 statute miles above it.
That made up for early hours.
There on the left-hand side of your screen is SpaceX core Jake Vendel.
I don't know, Havix. That's drastically complicating the mission profile, dude. Maybe. Who knows? Come on. It's Dragon's strobe light, Leglander. I have something on my shoulder. Is it flying around? Didn't look dragon-like, did it? Oh, no, it's over there now. Be right back. I mean, either way, it's a nice view.
And as a reminder, we are continuing to take your questions using the social media hashtag, on social media rather, using the hashtag AskNASA. So please do send in your questions. We'd love to answer them for you. We do have a question from Ashley who wants to know, even though the astronauts are in zero gravity, can they feel the speed of the Dragon?
Yeah, that's a good question. Generally, no. So once they are basically, at velocity inside Dragon, you don't really feel how fast it's going. It's very similar to whenever you're in a car. Let's say you're in the passenger seat and you're the driver, you're on the freeway. And if you're going 65 miles an hour, you don't really feel how fast you're going. You might be able to see it based on looking out the window, but generally speaking, you don't feel it unless if there is a change in that velocity. So if there's braking or if there's acceleration. So similarly to Dragon, they might be able to feel thought we were going to get some comms there, perhaps not. They might be able to feel changes in velocity, but because they are also going as fast as the Dragon capsule itself, they really can't feel that they're actually going 17,500 miles per hour.
And that's, of course, at this point in the mission now. Now, yesterday during launch is a little bit of a different story because the crew, like you said, is experiencing that change in acceleration. So at that point, they are able to really feel those G's that they're pulling as they do travel a lot faster than they were on the launch pad before they blasted off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the view, fellas.
So Dragon is now under
They're
300 meters from the space
obviously.
station. Looks like it's about 294 meters away. You can see it continuing to get larger and larger in the screen.
This is a really cool shot because now we have something for frame of reference other than planet Earth.
So this view from a camera on the port truss segment of the station, you are just barely seeing the Japanese robotic arm in the very center of the screen there, as well as part of the Japanese logistics module on the right that houses some experiments conducted aboard the space station. So one of our crew members for this flight is Koichi Wakata, who is an astronaut from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency.
We're just under 6 minutes until we hit Waypoint 1. As we've mentioned before, this movement from Waypoint 0 to Waypoint 1 will swing Dragon up and out in front of the station. So if you've been watching that capsule, it has been moving slightly in that frame.
So this is this is a shot from the S2 starboard truss segment, looking out at where the ISS is going. Dragon is basically it's going to take another couple minutes to get Dragon aligned to Waypoint 1, which should be up here somewhere. You see Kibo here, which is Japanese storage module, and then the GEM, which is the Japanese experiment module. This stuff down here is the open experiment platform, like where it's called the Japanese Exposure Facility, or JEF for short. And if you notice, there's a little robotic arm. That robotic arm is designed for putting experiments out there. And then if you look like right here, like this thing, there's a little tiny airlock right there for moving small laboratory experiments that need to be exposed to vacuum out there. There's a shot of Dragon looking at the ISS. That camera that we were just looking at is right here. It's right where my mouse cursor is. The ISS is a little bit overexposed from the sun right now. Yep, there's an onboard shot. So check this out here. Right here, when Dragon gets to the top of this kind of loop right here, that's Waypoint 1. You could see that Dragon is approaching Waypoint 1 right now. The reason why this looks like kind of like a cursive L, I guess, it would go up here like this and go down like that. It looks like a cursive L. The reason why is because of differential eccentricity. Dragon is using a difference between its orbit in the eccentricity than the ISS's orbit to kind of float up out in front of the space station. Think of it like a little mini Hohmann transfer. Dragon kind of circularized underneath the ISS, and when it came up to the ISS, it did a burn to do the transfer, just like you would if you were playing Kerbal or something and rendezvousing, right? When you get near, you do the burn and you get up next to it. Dragon is using that same type of transfer to basically get out and in front of the ISS. The alignment that it's using right here is called a V-bar alignment, or lined up with the station's velocity axis, or basically lining up prograde, retrograde for the Kerbal players, right? Basically getting out in front of the ISS in terms of like where it's going. So like if this was a plane flying, Dragon would be out in front of the plane with another plane, right? Airplanes, right? So once they get to waypoint 0, they're going to enter what's called an approach ellipsoid, which is a kind of, imagine, it's basically the airspace for the ISS. They're going to enter the airspace. And now it's called airspace because we're using airport, like airplane nomenclature. The approach ellipsoid is the airspace. So once you enter the ISS's airspace, they're going to start moving in until they get to the keep out sphere. The keep out sphere is basically the no-fly zone around the ISS. It's basically, you can only enter the keep out sphere from certain areas. Think of it like a runway at an airport. You don't want to try to land at an airport with an airplane just on the grass near the runway. There's just specifically aligned headings that you have to take to land on the runway. And if there's 2 different runways, and in this case 2 different docking ports, you got to take a different runway. The runway, so to speak, that they're taking today is the V-bar. So it's a V-bar alignment. So they're going to pressurized mating adapter 2, which is out at the front of the space station. It's way up in front. There's also pressurized mating adapter 3, which is on the zenith of the space station. PMA 3 is being taken right now by Crew-4's Dragon. You can literally see it right there in the foreground. If they were going to dock to PMA 3, they would need to do an R-bar alignment. And so they would need to go out over the top of the space station and come down and in. That loop would be in a different spot. But since they're doing a V-bar alignment, they're going to get to waypoint 1, and then they're going to move inside of the approach ellipsoid. You can see that if they show Dragon's display again. It's kind of a trapezoidal box, I guess. Oh, thank you. There you go. There's your approach ellipsoid right there. And then, see that line right there? That's the keep out sphere. They're going to move into the approach ellipsoid, and then they're going to move to the keep out sphere, and then they'll dock. We should be seeing a dock here probably in the next 20 minutes, I think. I think 4:57 is when they're dialed in for docking, so it's about, but a little under 20 minutes. After that, they're going to make sure they equalize the pressure between the capsule and the space station and the vestibule. There's kind of an open cavity between where the Dragon docks and where the ISS docks. They have to pressurize that, make sure that's equal to the ISS, and then they have to make sure Dragon is equal to the ISS. That whole process takes about an hour and a half.
They hook up the umbilical, just like they
There's
did
2 docking
whenever they
ports that Dragon
ingressed
can
into
get
the
at,
capsule
Clayton.
prior to
PMA2
launch.
and PMA3.
And then we pressurize the suits at a certain determined pressure for a certain amount of time, and then we basically just check to make sure that those suits are holding that pressure. And then that's the leak check. So once that's good, we're able to continue on with the approach timeline, which
not really,
gosh, I think it might have been about an
kind
hour
of,
ago.
but no.
Feels that much. Feels that way. I don't know. Time's kind of distorted over the last 40 hours. It feels like. But yeah. So with the crew in their seats, they are buckled in. It's a 5-point safety harness that it acts basically as a pretty advanced seatbelt. And the crew of course is basically plugged into their seats. We had a view just a moment ago. Using the umbilical, and that of course provides communication, telemetry of the crew themselves, and also fresh air. So while they're sitting there in their seats, we are pumping a nitrogen-oxygen mixture through the suit.
There are emergency egress procedures that are discussed, Gene, just in case. Yeah, of course. It would not take an hour and a half. I mean, when you need to get on a pitch, if something's wrong, like a depressurization or something, a depressurization event, once again, they have procedures to be able to get away from the ISS if they need to. Let's just say the docking, or the undocking in this case, would not be an hour and a half.
Same stuff that you breathe whenever
in
you're
that
scuba
unlikely
diving.
scenario. Nice, Forge.
And as we await confirmation of Waypoint 1, the International Space Station is flying 264 statute miles over Washington State.
400
In
kilometers.
fact, just a few moments ago, it flew over the city of Seattle. So if any of you were outside, you might have caught a glimpse of it flying overhead. But it looks like it's already passing into Canada, and that just really...
There's two capsules that are crew rated that are attached to the ISS right now, Fox. There's Soyuz MS-23, which is a Russian capsule that launched with 2 Russians and an American, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio. And then there is the Crew-4 Dragon attached to PMA-3 on the R-bar. See, you guys can see the other runway right there, so to speak. See how there's a trapezoid, there's like a kind of obelisk-shaped box going this way, and then there's one going that way. This is the V-bar alignment, and that's the R-bar alignment. These are the different runways for Dragon. Once again, they're using this runway over here, not that runway. There's already a capsule docked over there. The Crew-4 Dragon is docked to this one, so they ain't going for that one. See it right there? You can also see the Soyuz, the solar panels from Soyuz are behind Dragon there. You see that? See that solar panel right there? That's the MS-23 Soyuz, and then there's the Crew-4 Dragon. There's about to be 3 here in a second, Fox.
You can see the space station there has lots of solar panels, and it's pretty bright when the sun is shining on it. So at nighttime, when the space station is orbiting Earth, those solar panels in the station itself will reflect the sun's light back down at us, and that's what makes it so easy to spot.
That's the checklist.
The other thing to keep in mind is that there's no blinking, so that's a good differentiator between an airplane and the station.
Depends on what happens.
The space station, you won't see any blinking coming from the station.
There are procedures involved depending on the severity of the accident or whatever happens, dude, but I don't know what those are, and it really depends on what it is and what happens.
Away from the space station.
Hey, Element.
And you are getting a view of Mission Control in Hawthorne, which is just behind us here.
This is the room where all of the SpaceX flight controllers, responsible engineers, and the core, the crew operations and resources engineer, is seated as they are basically constantly monitoring Dragon. We have someone on console 24/7 while there is a Dragon on station or in orbit, and this is one of the rooms that we do that in.
And similarly, the International Space Station Flight Control.
Dragon, SpaceX, on the big loop, we see Endurance 2 minutes out from Waypoint 1.
Hey.
Soft capture ring extension will begin shortly, and Dragon will continue approach to Waypoint 2.
Noki. What's the capsule behind the 2 commentators? That's the first Dragon that was launched into space. See it up
and
there?
Those words there as we continue to make our way to Waypoint 1, now 237 meters away from the International Space Station.
As we've mentioned before, these checkpoints, these imaginary zones that we keep talking about are very important for Dragon, or really any spacecraft that's heading to or departing from these.
You see the Dragon capsule, you ever notice the landing leg that's right next to it?
Everything is
So,
to keep the crews both inside the spacecraft as well as the crew.
the 2 commentators, Kate and I forget the NASA PAO's name, they're up here. They're on the mezzanine right there. It's literally SpaceX's cafeteria. Yeah, their cafeteria is right there. It's 2 floors. There's there's like serving up here, and then there's tables up there, which is why it always sounds like they're in a cafeteria when they do their casts. MCCX or SpaceX Mission Control is here, and the front of the building is that way. Front of the building's that way. For going out here, this is all the production facilities where Falcon 9 is made. First stage engines, second stage engines. First stages, second stages, landing legs, they're all made back there. Fairings.
So we are coming up on Waypoint 1, which is 220 meters right in front of the space station, and that milestone will put us right in line with the docking access. So once Dragon reaches that docking access, it will have about 20 hours of power, so it could easily hold there for quite some time and could reattempt to dock if necessary, but everything is really proceeding on track for docking today.
I put the noise suppressor back on from last night, so people want to.
And we did just hear confirmation that we are at Waypoint 1.
Okay, Waypoint 1. V-bar alignment confirmed. At least we're going to hear, hopefully we hear it in a second.
The next milestone will be Waypoint 2, and that's coming up in just under 8 minutes. As we mentioned before, everything is a series of checks and phases really of approach. In this next phase, we're going to be heading to Waypoint 2, and at that point in time, Dragon will basically be in line with the dock that it is heading to. Of course, it's using the
Station Houston on the Big Loop.
Houston with you on the Big Loop.
Please monitor approach per step 3 of 1.102 Dragon approach and retreat monitoring. Let us know when your review is complete and you are ready for docking.
And Houston, procedure review is complete. Station crew is ready for docking.
Houston, copies.
And we were just getting an incredible view there of both Dragon and the moon with Earth in the background. Pretty spectacular
and also,
to see.
Station has Dragon video.
Copy that.
And there you can see that view again, the moon in the farthest portion of your screen there, the furthest back circle, Dragon in the middle, and the International Space Station in the closest field of view, of course, with our pale blue dot underneath it.
Again, the station and Crew Dragon are traveling at 17,000 miles per hour, 17,500 miles per hour around planet Earth. So while it looks like Earth is rotating slowly, it's actually going pretty quick. The station is roughly 250 miles above Earth. You can think of that as the distance from Los Angeles to San Francisco, or perhaps from Kennedy Space Center to Miami, depending on which frame of reference relates most to you. But yeah, this view with the moon, again, the moon is on is that dot on the left. Crew Dragon is the dot on the right, of course, heading toward the station.
Oh.
So at this point in time, we have completed, we have reached Waypoint 1. We are heading toward Waypoint 2, which is expected in about 5 minutes. Initial contact between Dragon and the International Space Station is expected to occur at about 1:57 p.m. Pacific time. Before reaching Waypoint 1, mission operators conducted a go, no-go poll to allow Dragon to begin its approach to Waypoint 2, which is located inside the Keep-Out Sphere, one of those imaginary shapes that we keep talking about, and that is about 20 meters away from the space station.
And as mentioned previously, all visiting vehicles take this phased approach to station, stopping at predetermined gates for teams to run quick checks on vehicle performance before approaching the space station. And when it comes to bringing two spacecraft together, slow and steady really wins the race, as docking operations require a great deal of precision.
So now what Dragon is doing, and we might be able to see it, it could just be the camera angle. They're going to do a radial in-burn. So basically Dragon's thrusters are going to push down. They're going to be firing them that way. Firing them that way, and it's hard to see because it's kind of, the sunlight's kind of washing it out. But what they're basically doing is, once they're inside of the approach ellipsoid, they're basically going to circularize out in front of the ISS, which is what they're doing now. Now what they're doing, so watch that blue line. That blue line should be flattening out. See it moving? What they're doing is they're basically circularizing out in front of the ISS. But here's the thing. If you go towards the ISS, that's technically deorbiting because you're slowing down. So you got to slow down and then shoot the thrusters down to push yourself back up. You got to slow down a little bit, push yourself back up, slow down a little bit, push yourself back up until you're at the docking port. Because remember, if they're out in front of the ISS and they want to get to the ISS, you're going to have to slow down so the ISS catches you. But if you slow down, you're going to change your orbit. So you have to burn, correct it, burn, correct it, burn, correct it.
Link reconfiguration and soft capture ring extension complete. Dragon is configured for docking.
Okay. You can see the Crew-4 Dragon there. Soyuz behind it. Actually, that might be Progress. Soyuz might be down there. You can see the bottom module there, the Nauka module and Radial attached to it. And then Columbus,
and you just
Kibo,
heard from the core and
Harmony right
SpaceX
there.
Mission Control.
Trust
That
segments.
was Jake Vindel reporting to Nicole Mann, commander of Dragon, that they are configured for docking. Back
So we
on
got
the
an
International
approach
Space
speed of
Station,
about
we have
1
NASA's
foot per
Chell
second
Lindgren
right now.
being prime for monitoring and making sure Dragon
About
Endurance stays
350
in the
feet
expected zones. Once Dragon is docked, it will join 4 parked spacecraft at the International Space Station, including SpaceX Dragon Freedom, which brought up the Crew-4 astronauts back in April. Russia's Soyuz MS-22 cruise ship, and Progress 80 and 81 resupply ships. Again, after docked, Lindgren will also be primed to start hatch opening operations.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. Houston and Hawthorne have pulled go for docking. Confirm visors down and that you are ready for approach 2.
Okay. They're gonna close the masks on the suits here because you risk depressurization by bumping into the space station during docking. So masks are down on the crew. You can see the rate of close right here is 0.3 meters a second.
Crew-5, all visors are down. We are ready for approach 2.
0.3 meters a second is about 1 feet per second for the Freedom unit folks.
Copy Crew-5. Visors down. We're going to enable the approach shortly. As a reminder,
They're about
once Dragon
a little
is
under
inside,
100
the crew
meters or
hands
about
off
300
point,
feet
retreat and breakout
away
are not permitted.
from the space station.
Copy.
Haji, the docking port is kind of a tapered rim, so you
And
can
you
be a
just heard
little bit
another
off
call
by
from the
like
core at
couple
MCCX,
centimeters.
responding to the crew that they are
It'll
in
kind of lock
preparation
in, and
for
then there's
docking.
a shock absorber that absorbs the
Just about
docking
13
energy, and
minutes
then they
from now,
retract the port, and then it
and
closes.
looking at
It
to
closes
arrive
together.
at
You'll see it.
Waypoint
You'll
2
see it.
in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Waypoint 2, guys, is the keep out sphere.
Again, once docked, NASA astronaut Chell Lindgren will be primed for getting ready for hatch operations.
About 250
that
feet out.
includes him
Approaching
going
at
to
1
the
feet
large
per
hatch
second
on
or
the
0.3
node 2
meters a second.
forward, giving him access
problem,
into the pressurized mating adapter. The crew then will have to pressurize the vestibule, which is the small space between the hatches on the Dragon and the space station. This was exposed to the vacuum of space.
What's the difference between the primary and secondary sensor? Nothing. It's a redundant system in case one sensor breaks. It's called being two-fault redundant. So if one sensor goes, they still have another one. I don't see your last.
On the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the station's vestibule. Flight controllers here in Houston will monitor and verify the pressure readings here to make sure that
If they do start losing
everything's
pressure, how quickly can they
leak-free
bring the
before we
capsule
get
home?
ready to open
Gully,
up.
what you described is if you're going to go on a 3,000-mile trip, can you get home faster if a tire falls off? I have no idea, dude. It depends on the severity of the leak, where it is, what it's doing. Keep in mind, a leak on your spacecraft means you did something very wrong. Parts like this shouldn't just malfunction, even though that does happen. I don't know how fast they would get them home. I'm sure they would plot a solution, and it would be about as safe as NASA or SpaceX could do it. I don't know. It really depends on what it is.
Working on the International Space Station,
Believe me, I had a
including
wheel fall
NASA's
off.
Chell Lindgren, Bob Hines, Jessica Watkins, Frank Rubio, and the current station commander and European Space Agency
That's correct, Pat,
astronaut
and that's why
Samantha
that's
Christopher
why they have
Reddy
the suits on.
and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Patelin. Crew-5 bringing
That's why they
crew
have the suits
complement
on
to
during the
11.
docking.
Again, we're excited to get our Crew-5 astronauts aboard. That's
is the
the
big
latest
loop?
from
Main
here at
flight
Mission Control
loop?
Houston. Back over to you,
It's a
Hawthorne.
loop that every single mission control can hear. About 150 feet out here, give or take, approaching at 1 feet per second here. 0.3 meters a second, 41 meter out. Got a great shot of Dragon closing in here. You can see they're almost to Waypoint 2 here. Waypoint 2 enters the ISS.
Now, at this point in time, Waypoint 2 is up next, and that will put Dragon only 20 meters away from the space station.
60 feet.
From there, the spacecraft will focus on aligning its docking system with the International Docking Adapter, or as you sometimes hear it referred to as the IDA.
And
Docking
Dragon is
now
less than 40 meters away from space station. In fact, it's now 37 meters and closing away from docking. You're getting a good view right now of the trunk with those solar arrays that we chatted about earlier. Once Dragon does dock, it will be receiving its power from the International Space Station. And you can also see some of those small thruster firings as we continue to close in on docking. Just making sure everything is precisely aligned and that Dragon is directly in front of the International Docking Adapter. We're about 20 seconds away from Waypoint 2 arrival. We are expecting docking to occur just a little bit later than planned, about 10 minutes from now.
What is the min-max approach angle corridor to point 2? Thanks.
Dragon 25.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
And we did just hear confirmation that Dragon has arrived at Waypoint 2.
Okay, so they're going to hold here for a second, and then they'll initiate final docking. What is the min-max approach angle corridor? I don't know. 10, 20 degrees? You can see it on their...
Once again, we're about 10 minutes away
from
docking
Dragon, but I don't
to
know
the
what that
International
is
Space Station.
Numerical format.
We have a great view there on your screen of the forward hatch of Dragon. We can see that docking mechanism,
so, Haji, you here, buddy?
The gray pieces there now exposed, and
if you look, there's 3 pedals right there on the soft capture mechanism on the NDS, the NASA docking system or International Docking System Standard.
Dragon is resuming approach and is go for docking.
Okay, there, go for docking. See these 3 pedals? The port that's on the ISS has the reverse of this. So there's a pedal here, a pedal here, a pedal here, and they'll kind of lock into each other.
Station copies. We'll go.
The RCS and stability controls would compensate style, but yeah, you'd have an effect, of course.
Go for docking.
All right, here we go.
Just a few meters away from the space station now, but when we are about at the 2 meter point, you may hear a call called CHOP, and that stands for the crew hands-off period. While everything has been done autonomously today so far, when we do hear that call CHOP, it means that any re-rendezvous would need to be done automatically through Dragon, and the crew would not be initiating any of that. We are 16 meters away from the International Space Station. On the left is Crew Dragon Endurance coming in for docking. On the top right with its nose cone deployed is the Crew Dragon Freedom that is currently docked to the International Space Station and is the vehicle that Crew-4 will return home on.
If something goes wrong at any time, Nicole Mann, the commander, and Josh Cassida, the pilot of Dragon, can take manual control. That is entirely possible to do. They can override the systems if they see something wrong. However, when Dragon gets to the final, within the final couple feet here, they go to CHOP, which is the crew hands-off position. I think she said something. P is different. Crew hands-off procedure or something like that. Basically, where let it do its thing and see what happens. You can't override it when it gets that close.
4 black circles those are the forward Draco thrusters.
SpaceX copies 10 meters.
And 10 meters away from space station now.
Going into the dark.
If you look at the Dragon capsule, you can actually see the side Draco thrusters thrusting, helping to steer Dragon closer to station accurately.
Twilight here. Hopefully we get some view.
And hearing we're just a couple of minutes away from docking, should be coming up just momentarily.
No problem, Fox. Oh.
Dragon now traveling less than 1 meter per second as it closes in for docking.
Yeah.
As you said before, Sandra, slow and steady wins the race here.
Stand by for the call for chop here momentarily. Dragon's within 5 meters, so we're about 15 feet.
Less than 10 meters separating Dragon from the space station.
There's the 5 meter call.
Copy, 5 meters.
And that call, 5 meters separating Dragon from space station. Should be about a minute until we are docked and Crew-5 is home for the next few months.
6-month stay on the mission here. You're noticing some pixelation on the camera? Those are dead pixels that got fried from solar radiation.
Should hear that call for chop here momentarily.
2 meters, chop.
And
chop.
There it was.
Copy, 2 meters.
6 feet.
2 meters, crew hands off point.
3 feet.
Happens about 25 seconds before contact.
2 feet.
1 meter.
Oh, no, it's still 3 feet now.
1 meter.
1 foot. Stand by for cap. She's locked. Soft capture confirmed.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, contact and soft capture complete. Attenuation in progress.
And contact confirmed. Dragon made contact with the International Space Station at 2:01 p.m. Pacific, just off the west coast of Africa.
Now there are still a few steps that Dragon has to complete before it is securely attached to the station. So we are going to walk through those. We're going to have completion of that soft capture ring retraction, and then we're going to begin the hard capture sequence. And then a few minutes after that, some time passes, that we will have completion of that hard docking.
Dragon, SpaceX, ring retraction in progress.
They're closing the attenuators.
So there is that first thing I mentioned, that ring retraction for soft capture.
And that soft capture ring will retract until its sensors indicate that it is time for the hooks to drive and create a hard capture. There are 12 hooks that are going to be driven to form that hard mate, and they take place in a series of 6. So the first 6 will drive, and then the second 6 will drive.
Just like everything about the approach this morning, everything is in sequence. Now you might notice the view of Dragon is a little darker than it was before as it was coming in. Of course, the station and now Dragon are orbiting Earth, and it looks like they are lost the sunlight there. Live view there from SpaceX Mission Control, based here in Hawthorne, California.
Nah, she's probably sleeping.
And so if you are just tuning in with us, Crew-5 has safely completed docking to the International Space Station. That docking occurred at 4:01 p.m. just off the west coast of Africa. Their journey began yesterday afternoon when they lifted off at 11 a.m. Central Time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. 3 first-time flyers on board Crew-5 and 1 veteran astronaut from JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Koichi Wakata. And then those 3 first-time flyers are NASA astronaut Nicole Mann, who is the first ever female commander of a Dragon. And once she floats on board Space Station, will be the first Native American to ever visit the International Space Station, as well as NASA astronaut Josh Cassada, who's the first-time flyer as well. And the other first-time flyer is Roscosmos cosmonaut Anya peeking at.
That's right. Now, we have a little over 5 minutes left until docking is considered complete. As Sandra was just mentioning, the 3 first-time spacegoers on this mission, I would have to imagine that at this point in time, they must be like children sitting in a car seat, just wanting to get out. They have spent a long time making this journey, literally since launch yesterday at noon Eastern time. And they have friends on board station, and I bet they're just so excited to get out of their seats, get out of their suits, open up that hatch, and ultimately go get to hang out with their friends for a couple months.
It's short.
Absolutely.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, ring retraction complete. Docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration.
I'm not sure what MCS is.
Copy.
They can move around. They're not sitting in their seat for 24 hours, net worth.
And we did hear confirmation that the soft capture ring retraction is complete. So the next up is that hard capture sequence start. Again, there's 12 hooks that are going to drive in to create that hard dock between Dragon and the space station. We'll first see 6 of those hooks begin to drive, and then the other 6, and that will have our docking be complete.
Now, looking forward to the next events, like I mentioned before, we have about now 4 minutes left until docking is complete. The Crew-5 crew will have the opportunity to doff or take off their suits. And then it's almost 90 minutes until they actually get to open that APAS hatch and get to go see their friends, really get to greet the Crew-4 crew and the other members, other astronauts that are on station. So as we've mentioned before, everything is a series of checks and check-ins. Everything is a checklist, a sequence of events, and so they're at the station.
Station Houston on the big loop. MCS configured. Proceeding with hook driving.
Okay, you're gonna drive the hooks on the hard mating mechanism here. There should be.
So there's that.
It's 24.
There's that confirmation that we will begin to drive that first set of 6 hooks, and that is basically that hard capture process.
Maybe it's 12 on Dragon, I forget. Too many
so hooks are driving. This is the second time in the flight that we have done something with these hooks. They were also used just a short time after liftoff, after Dragon was inserted into a nominal orbit, and they helped to allow that nose cone to swing open.
Oh. I didn't know that.
So hooks are continuing to drive.
Nicole did this.
First 6 hooks driving.
Live view there inside the Dragon capsule. We can see the crew has their visors down in the locked position. Again, this is to ensure that if, for any unlikely event that Dragon were to lose pressurization, that suit would act as a second capsule, basically. It's it's almost a spacecraft of its own, being able to provide environment and pressure for the crew in an emergency.
And the crew does wear that spacesuit during all of the dynamic phases of flight, during launch, of course, docking. But here pretty shortly, they will be able to take off that spacesuit, and they'll actually hang them up to dry before they begin to pressurize that vestibule and get ready to float through the space station.
Ideally, you want one crew. You want to
as we've mentioned before, those suits are unique, especially fitted for each astronaut.
In the past, they've had non-overlap periods. It did happen between Crew 3 and Crew 4. Crew 3 left before Crew 4 went up because Crew 4's launch got delayed. That does happen. Now, they're not going to leave no one up on the ISS. The ISS has to have somebody there. It has to have somebody there to maintain the systems. It was designed that way. It's not entirely designed to be totally autonomous. It's designed to have humans on it pretty much at all times. So even if there is no overlap between the crews, there's still a Russian crew there. But here's the other thing: we mix crews on purpose for this this exact reason. NASA and Roscosmos, the Russian spaceflight agency, the two organizations that launch people to the ISS, they mix crews. The other day on MS-23, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio flew up on a Soyuz. He did fly up on a Russian capsule. And Dragon here, Crew-5 has Anna Kikna on it. She's a Russian cosmonaut. You have to mix the crew for that exact reason. You need to have an American up there, and you need to have a Russian up there. The reason why? If there's something wrong with the Russian segment, it'd be better to have a Russian native speaker up there communicating with Russian mission control. And same for the USOS segment, the United States Operational segment of the station. There's ROS and USOS. You want a native speaker to be able to communicate, somebody that's been trained, or somebody that has Russian or English as their first language, to be able to communicate correctly. So it's for the safety of the crews that you mix crews. That's why even despite all the crap that's going on the ground, we still never stop doing it. Because you need to. It's for the crew. It's for crew safety. That's right, Havoc. Since 2000, Expedition 1. In fact, the guy in the press conference, the post-flight press conference, Sergei Krikalev, the guy that was on the far right of the screen yesterday, he was on Expedition 1 with an American, Bill Shepard. What about the European and Japanese parts? They do have localized mission control for the modules in Europe and in Japan for the European and Japanese modules, but that is all part of the USOS segment, the United States Operational segment. Houston controls that. The real reason, Russian components, American components, all made in Taiwan.
Eastern time. And
you got to think about this kind of stuff if you're running a space station like this,
which was the initial step in the docking sequence, and now we are completing the hard capture sequence. We've had the first 6 hooks drive, and we are
12
standing
hooks,
by
not
for
24,
confirmation that the last 6 have driven successfully. In all, there's 12 hooks that will mate Dragon to the International Space Station.
With that live view of Dragon there on your screen, we can see the pilot and commander. So from this viewpoint, it would be Commander Nicole Mann on the left-hand side of your screen.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, hard capture complete. Moving on to ring retraction and then umbilicals.
A good people squad.
All right, and there we just heard that that
Josh
hard
Cassidy is on
capture
the right.
is complete. Good news there.
Blast. 4913 sub, thank you.
Yeah, that's the call that we wanted to hear. All 12 of those hooks have made it to the space station as expected. So again, we do have a hard dock at this moment.
I'm not sure, Sun Temple. Maybe. If I was commanding Dragon, I would let my crew go first. If we were talking to the ISS, they would go first. I would be the last one out of the ship.
Now, once the crew gets confirmation that docking is complete, they'll then be given the go to doff or take off their spacesuits. And then begins the couple hours long process of opening the various hatches both on the Dragon side as well as the station side. So even though they have arrived at station and we have a hard dock, confirmed hard dock, there's still a couple hours left to go before the crew gets
it's going to take
before
a little
the
bit.
Crew-5 crew gets to embrace.
So now that they're hard docked, they're going to, I mean, it's just what Kate was saying a second ago. They're going to take their suits off, right?
Be a couple of different
They're going to take the suits off, and then when they
hatches open in Dragon to just
there is a couple of hatches that they have to open. First thing they have to open is the PMA2 pressurized mating adapter. Or no, not pressurized mating. It's the PMA2 common berthing mechanism hatch, or CBMH. They have to open that, the axial CBM hatch. And then PMA, pressurized mating adapter, as the name implies, is pressurized. So they just open that hatch. It's like opening a closet door. They use them for storage on the ISS when a ship isn't docked. From there, they got to make their way down into the vestibule. Now, because the PMA is a... Hey, there's Shiva. That guy that just walked by commentates some SpaceX casts from time to time. Anyway, there's an adapter.
And we did hear that the umbilical deploy is underway, as we've mentioned a couple of times.
They're plugging
Once
Dragon
those
into the space
umbilicals
station so it can
get
tap
set up
into
and
its power.
attached, that's when Dragon...
So there's another hatch. So you have your CBM hatch, right? And then you have the other side of the pressurized mating adapter hatch. Oh.
Sequence complete. Crew Dragon Endurance and Koichi, Nicole, Josh, and Anna, welcome to the International Space Station.
There's basically three hatches. There's three hatches.
Is happy to have finally arrived at the International Space Station. Endurance is a very proper name for our training mission and this spacecraft. To the NASA and the SpaceX teams, a huge thank you. Especially shout out to our training lead, Tyler Carr, for all the simulations you put us through and the training. We were definitely well prepared, and we are looking forward to getting to work.
No, there's a damper.
We made it to the International Space Station. There's only through the efforts of so many people. We thank you, and we'll make you proud. Let's go, Expedition 68.
Thank you, everybody, for giving us this smooth ride, just like in the simulation. And you trained us well, and I really appreciate all the efforts of the SpaceX team, NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ESA, and Canada, of all the international partners. And I cannot wait to start working with our crewmates on Expedition 68.
No.
Dragon, this is Station. We're glad to have you aboard. We'll see you here in a minute.
That was Chell Lindgren, Station Commander.
And there you just heard some words.
And Dragon, on behalf of SpaceX, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. Ground teams will be enabling hardline power and comm connection shortly as we work towards hatch opening. In the meantime, you are go to doff suits per procedure 4.012, and we'll bring the cameras external.
Hello everyone, I forgot to push a button. Everything is good. I really have emotions, and we have smooth emotions and feelings, and really grateful to you everybody who did it to us. And we are looking forward to see and meet guys on the station that will do work all together.
Some lovely words there from the Crew-5 crew. They have just completed docking.
I got a 4.012.
Good read, Anna, and great words.
Last commentary there from Anna Kikina. I don't speak Russian, but I think there's a pep in her step. I think she's pretty excited to be there. So all that being said, now that Dragon has completed the docking sequence, the spacecraft must undergo a handful of checks before we're able to open that hatch. The crew on board Dragon will now get a chance to get out of their suits.
Dragon, SpaceX on Dragon to ground, cameras are external.
And that was just SpaceX core, just letting the crew know that they're good to...
Okay, we copy. External on the cameras. Thank you, Object.
Just letting the crew know that they are good to take off their suits. Those onboard cameras have now been turned off for privacy reasons. So yeah, the crew will get a chance to get out of their suits before moving into hatch operations.
That's right, and things will start to be picking up inside the space station too, as NASA's Chell Lindgren gets the hatch on the station side ready to be opened and starts pressurizing that area known as the vestibule between the Dragon and station hatches. With Dragon docked, that's going to do it for us here in Hawthorne, but our coverage for Crew-5 won't stop here. The coverage will continue with our team positioned in the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Houston. So for Kate and I, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. But Shaniqua, what's ahead for Dragon?
How you go?
Thanks, Sandra, and goodbye to my friends at SpaceX. Mission Control Houston will take you through to the hatch open anticipated at 5:42 p.m. Central Time and the welcome ceremony expected around 7:15 p.m. Central Time. It was a very exciting moment here for us in Mission Control Houston following Dragon's docking. That was a successful docking at 4:01 p.m. Central Time, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time, while flying 259 statute miles off the west coast of Africa. It's great to see Dragon docked. Energy in the room here is high. There was applause and smiles all around the room upon docking. Now that we are docked, Chell Lindgren is securing some hardware, then moving right into hatch operations. First, he will open the large hatch at the node 2 forward, giving him access inside the pressurized mating adapter. Then he'll have to pressurize the vestibule, which is the small space between the hatches on Dragon and the space station. This was exposed to vacuum prior to docking, and we need to fill it with air and make sure its pressure is nearly equal to that of the atmospheric pressure on Dragon and the space station. Lindgren will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the vestibule. Flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston will monitor the pressure and temperature readings inside and
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon and ground. Com check from the cabin mic.
Koichi on the cabin mic, we've got you 5x5. How us on the speakers?
We got you loud and clear on the speakers. Thank you.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Chell.
Minutes, Vasu. Yep, they closed the loops. Those gaming setups are crazy. Yeah, look at how big of a monitor that guy has.
And you just heard a call out from Capcom here in Mission Control Houston. Amy Deal, sitting right next to the flight director, Greg Whitney, leading the docking and rendezvous portion. We are currently docked to the station, and we are waiting for the crew to do some steps to be ready to open the hatch. We just heard a call to NASA's Chell Lindgren, and he was given the go to go ahead and begin those hatch operations. First, he will open the large hatch at node 2 forward, giving him access inside the pressurized mating adapter. Then he'll have to pressurize the vestibule, which is the small space between the hatches on Dragon and the space station. This was exposed to vacuum prior to docking, and we need to fill it with air and make sure its pressure is nearly equal to that of the atmosphere on Dragon and the space station. Lindgren will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into the vestibule. Flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston will monitor the pressure and temperature readings inside and verify that everything is leak-free before we get ready to open up the hatches. Again, we're expecting hatch open to happen at 5:42 p.m. Central Time. Following hatch open, the crew will configure Dragon for on-orbit ops and get a safety briefing. With critical research and science aboard Dragon today, they will begin to unload the hardware. A few hours from then, we will have a welcome ceremony with all crew members for Crew-4 and Crew-5, as well as the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station.
I mean, I don't know, Creeper. Maybe it's clearly something that they're doing to either A, protect the drone ship, or B, try to precisely land Falcon 9. I don't know. I'd never noticed it until very recently. So, does Dragon have the ability to draw air out of the cabin? Yes. The ISS is just south Africa right now. moving into the Indian Ocean. They are going through a tedious handover right now. That's why they don't have any live shots on the ISS.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
That man is playing Galaga. Yeah, sometimes that happens, Nick. Sometimes the spacecraft crashes into the space station. And by sometimes, I mean that only happened once. It was on Mir. A Progress space capsule crashed into the module on Mir. You want that 6-screen setup
Station on big loop. The node 2 forward hatch is open.
Okay, give us those
Copy,
ISS
node 2 forward
shots,
hatch
guys.
open.
We can see them prepping the pressurized mating adapter. Guy on the left just killed 97 beavers. I seen it. I don't think they're playing Timberborn Triceratops. And either way, that's my job, right? When in your life did you fall in love with everything space? I've always liked it, Dio. I just wouldn't admit it to myself for the longest time. Spaceflight has been a part, I don't know, in various ways, shapes, or forms, been a part of my life for a really long time. You playing Timberborn after docking? No! There's another Falcon 9 launch after this. And then I have to, stream's going to be short. There's going to be no after hours tonight, guys. Brimo and I have some normie stuff that we have to take care of. Normie stuff. I thought you were a synth. Of course I am.
Houston 2 for hatch opening.
Of course I am, Pythos, but I have to do normie stuff so people
Go ahead, Sam.
don't think that, obviously.
The APAS equalization value was opened at GMT 2126.
It's Galaxy 3334. It's a Wombat. It's a commercial satellite. 2 commercial satellites.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, vestibule pressurization in progress, reference 4.400 for telemetry if you'd like.
Okay, so what they're doing right now. So if we take a look right now.
I'm in 4.400.
Let's use this one. This is a little bit. I'm going to try to find the highest.
Station on 2 on the big loop. APAS valve is closed at 2127. And the node 2 camera is on if you'd like to route it.
Node 2 camera on. Hold on. Okay.
Houston copies all.
So what's going on right now, guys? All right, so we have 3 kind of big components here when Dragon docks to the ISS. You have Dragon, you have the International Docking Adapter, IDA, which is what this white stripe is right here. And then you have the Pressurized Mating Adapter, the PMA. Now,
and you just heard some.
I always get a lot of questions about this, but I'll try to answer them as best as I could based off of what I've heard in the past. Give me one moment.
Of Dragon, basically all confirming that we've had start of hatch operations and pressurization of that vestibule.
So, they have to pressurize the vestibule. Now, what's the vestibule? Vestibule is this thing right here. The International Docking Adapter has a hatch on one side, right? And that hatch, believe it or not, is attached to the PMA. It's called an APAS hatch, or an Androgenous Peripheral Attachment System, APAS. You'll hear them talk about it. So the PMA has an APAS, the APAS hatch. The IDA is basically just a ring. It's just a ring, right? And that ring has an APAS docking port on one side And then it has the NDS, the National Docking System, or the International Docking System Standard, IDSS, NDS, you can call it whatever you want. I like NDS because it's less letters. It has the NDS on the other side. The NDS is what Dragon docks to. When it docks to that, that creates an area right here inside, because that ring is hollow, because people have to go through it. It creates an unpressurized area. That unpressurized area is called the vestibule. Now, why? Why have a hatch with a hatch with a hatch? Well, the pressurized mating adapter and the androgenous peripheral attachment system are left over from another vehicle that used to dock to the ISS a lot. There you go.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground for a few vehicle configuration items.
Okay, that's just vehicle config. So, the APAS is what the shuttle used. Fun fact, the Androgenous Peripheral Attachment System, or APAS for short, is a Russian docking system. Believe it or not. The space shuttle, during its entire career, flew with a Russian docking port on it, because it was already engineered. It already worked. There was no need to re-engineer the wheel, because the first thing that the shuttle docked to was Mir. So they had to fit it with a Russian docking port to dock to the ISS. When Mir was on its way out and they decided to go forward with the International Space Station, why change what freaking works? Use the same thing. It makes sense, right? So they did. Shuttle.
Right, we are looking for your help characterizing some power.
Hey, Maro, gifted us up to Patton.
While it was being used.
Russian? Why? Because it's a good design. No, Ilya, the shuttle was designed to go to Mir. Why change it? No need to change it. So, it has APAS, right? Thanks for the bits, Will. It has androgenous peripheral attachment system. And in case anybody's wondering why the PMA is bent, well, it's so the shuttle can fit. So the shuttle can see the docking port when you go to dock. Every docking was done manually with the space shuttle. Space shuttle did not have an automated docking system. It's from the 1970s. It's old school. So you needed windows. Shuttle has 2 windows here and then has 2 windows there. The windows are there so you can see the docking port. And the docking station is actually on the back. Now,
I'd recommend y'all continue with suit doffing, and then
you want to get a good sense of scale here. Shuttle's big.
Gotcha, no problem. We'll call you when we get into section
Very
5.
big comparatively to Dragon. Dragon could fit inside of the shuttle's payload bay. You want to see how big that freaking thing is? That is a monster of a freaking vehicle. It built the ISS. Now, going back over to Dragon. There's Dragon comparatively. I mean, just saying. Just saying. So, the International Docking Adapter, IDA, has to adapt APAS to NDS. And they have to pressurize the area in there.
He's calling to Commander of Dragon, Nicole Mann. Dragon will be also doing some operations on their side, preparing Dragon for a long duration stay.
You should have, actually, Darius, you should have seen what they had cooked up for the shuttle docking to Space Station Freedom. It was actually pretty cool.
While aboard the International Space Station.
The docking, the crazy thing about this is what you're seeing right there. What you're seeing right here is half of the Space Station Freedom docking mechanism. Space Station Freedom, you see this kind of piece right here that the docking port is riding around in? See that piece right there? That's the docking system for Space Station Freedom. See this truss segment? The shuttle was going to use its payload bay attachment points to dock to Space Station Freedom. True story. Space Station Freedom was the US's space station that they were going to build before they decided to do the ISS. A lot of Space Station Freedom's components found their way into the ISS, right? How the shuttle was supposed to dock to the space station, to the totally U.S. space station, was those pins right there. It was supposed to use the shuttle's active and passive latching system, and then there would have been a docking port that goes out the back of the shuttle to the module. When they re-equipped everything here for Mir, they said, nah, why do we need to do that? Why do we need to dock? Well, we're not docking to Space Station Freedom anymore, so let's take that module and put a Russian docking system on it, and that's exactly what they did. Yep. This is half Space Station Freedom's docking system and half a Russian docking system because the shuttle was designed to go to Mir. There you go. Cool fun fact about the space shuttle. The space shuttle was supposed to dock up to the ISS and it was supposed to, or dock up to Space Station Freedom, and then it was supposed to leave this thing here.
And you're currently seeing live views of Dragon dock to the International Space Station.
There we go. We got on boards. Even crazier, even crazier, guys, is that Buran had a very similar version of that. The Soviet space shuttle.
Dragon and the International Space Station in almost a sun.
The Mir docking, or the Buran's docking system actually ended up becoming the Mir docking module. It was an adapter that was designed for Buran's spacecraft to be able to dock to Mir. They took parts of that and made the adapter module for the shuttle to attach to. Basically, the shuttle borrowed Buran's docking system. Crazier fun fact about it, that's it right there. The Mir docking module. The module that adapts the Soyuz attachment system to an APAS, right? Even crazier thing about that, the Rasvet module that is up on the space station right now is another version of that. That's Buran's docking port right there. Fun fact. The Rasvet module is modified a little bit though. Instead of APAS on the bottom, it has a Soyuz docking port, so Soyuz can dock to it. But it is Buran's docking system. At least it was originally made for it back in the day. True story. Pretty crazy, right? And that feeds into a bigger thing. Use what freaking works. So going back over into Dragon, you know that the pressurized mating adapter works just fine. It works because the shuttle used it, and it works great. APAS works fine. You know that that works. And it would be a pain in the butt to take this whole thing off, get rid of it, and then attach a new docking port. So they just attached an adapter. An adapter that adapts a docking port that they know works to a brand new docking port that they also know works. And that's why docking takes a second, because it's Dragon with an adapter onto the shuttle's docking port with another adapter onto the space station docking port. Yeah. Use what works. You know it works. Why change it? You don't want to roll the dice like that when you're in space. I know it seems janky as all hell, but it works. So, it's stupid and it works. It ain't so stupid now, is it? And they launched on the shuttle. Yeah, that's right, Joe. Yeah, Rasvet and the Mir docking module were launched on the space shuttle. Joe, that's Buran's docking system. Here. I'll show you. They just literally took Buran's docking system and put it in the space shuttle when the Soviet Union folded. True story. They just adapted it onto the Space Station Freedom attachment system, so it could dock to so the shuttle could dock to it.
You're currently looking inside the International Space Station.
Take a look at this render of Buran.
Commander Samantha Cristoforetti and NASA astronaut Chell.
It's literally a Rasvet module.
Just
Look.
A few seconds ago, as they were floating by, still
crazy, right?
Final preparations.
Well, not a lot of people know that.
Hatch open.
Yeah, I had to do some digging to figure that one out.
Arrival
Shuttle flew with Buran's docking system the entire program. Not a lot of people know that, and I always thought that was really cool.
Hatch open happened around 5:42 p.m. Central Time.
Hey, Kuna Joe, what's up, man? All right, we got an interior shot here on the ISS. This is looking inside of the PMA. That right there, guys, is the APAS. That's the APAS docking port. So that is this sucker right here. That camera is looking this way, and the APAS port is this one right here. Once the vestibule gets pressurized, and you can see that there's a valve right there that they use to pressurize it. Once it's giving a good pressure readings, they'll go in here and they'll open up this hatch. And then you'll be able to see the hatch to Dragon. They just got to make sure Dragon and the ISS are equalized on pressure, and then we're good to go to open this thing. It's your birthday? Well, happy birthday, Kuna Joe. Don't forget the Skylab rescue plan to save Skylab. I mean, oh, yeah, John, there is that too. Yeah. Skylab, dude, shuttle could have done it, man, if it flew on time. What are all those bags? Storage, dude. You got to remember, there's no floor here, Haji. Everything is the floor. Because there's no up, down, left, or right. There is local station orientation, and this camera is oriented with the ISS. So this camera's pointed out the front. It's aligned with the station's V-bar like I was talking about. But, dude, there's no... Think about it if you took the room that you're in and you unfolded it. You unfolded it so the walls were the floor, and then the ceiling was also the floor. You'd have a lot more space, right? Everything is the floor when you're in space. So all these bags are storage. They're just storing random stuff. If we could read what it says, it would tell you what it is. How long is their mission on the ISS? Crew-5's up there for 6 months, Tony. Galaxy 33, 34 soon. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, Ilya. Yeah, Tessa, exactly like that. Mm-hmm. You don't need shelves. Yeah, just bungee it. Literally bungee the thing to the wall. It works. Now, I can tell you what this is over here. It's for emergency use, and it's a bag.
Tuning in, you're watching live coverage of NASA's SpaceX Crew-5 mission to the International Space Station, where they had a...
I can tell you what different things are if I see them, but yeah, I don't know what all this stuff does. I don't think anybody does. But...
NASA astronauts Nicole Mann and Josh Cassada, JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata, and Roscosmos cosmonaut.
Did you know that the long-term plan for Skylab was to add a shuttle external tank to the wet workshop? Yep, one of my favorite ideas that should have flown, Creeper.
39 minutes ago.
Yeah, Demon, if you see something that looks like a keg, it ain't no keg. It's a poop can. Yeah. Because the toilets use vacuum, I don't need to elaborate on that anymore, do I? Because the toilets use vacuum, it ends up going into a pressurized container, and those containers are swappable. Think of them like little mini sepsis tanks. That's all they are. Once one fills up, you have to can it, close it, move it over there, put an empty one in. Those usually end up on a Progress spacecraft. They don't bring the poop down. They put it on Cygnus or a craft that's not re-entering, and it burns up in the atmosphere. Yes, the ISS burns trash. I know. It's not very cash money, ISS. No, they have to do it that way. Why bring it back down? Septic, not sepsis, lol. Is it at all possible that I could have misspoken? No, it can't be. No, you're going to make fun of it. Yeah, thanks. Scott showed the clips from the shuttle tour the other day. It was very interesting. Oh, is that the one with me in them? Oh, that's cool. Don't they also store water in similar cans? They might, but make sure you get your labeling system right. Oh, that's cool, Sile. Right on. I mean, Sile, I'm pretty good friends with Scott. We don't talk very often because of pandemic. We used to talk a lot more, but yeah, I should go reach out. He's a good dude. I like Scott a lot. Good guy. A Scotsman. What port is Crew-4 on? Crew-4 is up there. Tessa, you can't use Dragon to boost. You can't use Dragon to boost the ISS. There's a problem there. The boost thrusters are right there. Dragon actually flies backwards through space. A lot of people don't know that. Backwards locally oriented the vehicle. It flies trunk first. Those thrusters are the main thrusters right there. Yeah. Oh, I still talk to Das a lot, Squall. Das and I talk good, I don't know, probably once every couple of weeks. Yeah, so Dragon boosting might be a little bit of a problem. They already did it not long ago. They would have to use the radial thrusters, and you could do it, but it wouldn't be very effective because those thrusters are pointing out around the heat shield, Tessa, so you're going to take a cosine loss of thrust. Too bad they can't use the Super Dracos. Cygnus. You could boost the station with Cygnus if you really wanted to. Yeah, Cygnus could do it. They tested it the other day. It can boost the station if needed. But, guys, the best thing is what's been prescribed, using a Progress capsule to do it. Using a Progress capsule or Zvezda. Though that's how the station was designed, so that's the system that you should use. You don't want to go off script too much with spaceflight. That's a bad idea. You're just inviting more problems to happen. And Murphy's Law is very apparent when you're in space. What can go wrong absolutely will go wrong. Look at what Datayoshi is. One Starship ISS. Yeah. I don't know. If NASA and SpaceX think that that's something that the ISS needs, that's fine. But I'd be very interested. That'd be very interesting if It would be very interesting if Starship's flying crew before the ISS goes the way of the Dodo. I'm not sure we're going to get much overlap there. With that being said, I still think it'd be cool to see. Shell. Jeez. But no more Zvezda if the Russians decide to leave. They won't leave, Velk. What's up, Chell? That's station commander right there, Chell Lindgren. Do you know how many trips SpaceX has made to the ISS? 25 uncrewed Dragon missions, Haji, and 5 crew missions. So 30 missions total. That's right, Forge. Starliner is better suited for boosting. That's correct. Who's the commander? You just saw him. His name's Chell Lindgren. He's a NASA astronaut. What's the latest with Starliner? It should fly sometime later this year, Alleviate. If not this year, sometime next year in Q1. Wasn't it 6 because of Demo 2? Yeah, that's right. Isn't the commander Samantha? Maybe. I'm not sure. I forget. I can't, dude. Trouble keeping track of all the stuff that's going on with space, guys. You got to remember, I'm off the cuff. I don't have any note cards. Everything is stored up here. You guys got to Google search to figure stuff out. I try to make sure I don't do that. I try to remember everything cold. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And Axiom 1, yeah, see all the Google searching that people are doing now? See what I'm talking about? So including Demo 2 and Axiom, that's 7 crew flights to the space station and 25 resupply missions. Of course you did, Squall. Of course you did. You don't have to lie to these people. It's all right. Can they use Super Dracos on Dragon to boost the station? No, the Super Dracos are inerted after the it's the 3rd abort contingency window on the 2nd stage. They shut them off and then they're basically capped. You cannot turn them back on once the system is deactivated. Are the first gateway modules launching before or after Artemis 3? Not sure, Limpron. Oh, hello. So how many launches today? We only have one launch today, right? We only have one. It's going to be in about an hour. How many Dragons could fit in a shuttle's cargo bay? 2, 3. Actually, T-Man. So okay, you want word on the shuttle here? Shuttle could take 2 Dragons up into space and bring one of them back down. The other one would have to re-enter. The shuttle could take 3 Starliners into space easily. Dragon, you could fit 3 Dragons in there, but Dragon is too long with the trunk. Starliner's short enough. You could fit 3 Starliners in there. Sure, no problem. It would be able to take 3 up, but it would only be able to take 1 back. Capsules are heavy. Shuttle only had 12-ton down mass capability, which, once again, is way more than anything that's ever flown, ever, save for maybe Buran. That's 12 tons. So the shuttle could literally fly a school bus into space, leave it up there, come back down, come back up, grab the school bus, and bring that back down. And then you could get in the school bus and drive away. The shuttle had 25 metric ton payload capacity. And then towards the end of the program, it went up further than that. I mean, it was a monster of a vehicle. The shuttle can move more into space than a Delta IV Heavy. And it can bring back down more payload than an Antares can put up into space, which is unreal. I mean, guys, it was ridiculous capability. I mean, look at what it made. Imagine shuttle launching fueled space-only vehicles up and empty ones back down. That's what they wanted to do, Aqualux. That was the plan. The shuttle was supposed to make interplanetary tugs, and it was supposed to build interplanetary transfer vehicles like the Gateway. Teeter's hand over. And, yeah, they decided they didn't want to do that. Was that Samantha there? I mean, I don't know, Nachos. You never know. The neighbor's kids would, though. But the neighbor's kids are kind of weird. How many Starman Teslas could we fit? Like 5? T-Man, you ever seen a Greyhound bus driving around? The Greyhound bus can fit inside of the shuttle's payload bay. There's your size. It could literally fit a bus in the payload bay. The thing was monstrous. I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you. The thing's freaking huge. There's the shuttle, and there's Dragon. Shuttle, Dragon, on the same docking port. Are you talking size or weight? Yes. I mean, how much does a Greyhound bus weigh? Hold on, let me check. A quick Wikipedia check indicates the curb weight. I Googled this. Is about 35,500 pounds or just under 18 tons. The gross vehicle weight, max operating weight specified by the manufacturer is 48,000 pounds or 24 tons with passengers and luggage. Yeah, the shuttle can move that. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, easily move that into space. A Greyhound bus full of people and fuel and cargo. Yeah, it could move it into space and bring it back down. Hopefully they have life support, or else that would suck. I mean, it's a monster. It was a monster of a vehicle, dude. I don't know that, fan. Cheap space tours. How many bananas in that? Is that at least 3? At least 3. That'd be one expensive bus trip. If you did it enough, the price would go down. I mean, you could say that would be an expensive bus trip, but what would you be comparing it to? The other spacecraft that can move a bus into space? Yeah. Magic School Bus 2.0. Django, that'd be amazing. How much would Venture Star have been able to carry? 18. Waz. It could carry... Yeah. It could carry 2/3 of what the shuttle could carry. Still, though, 18 tons is good. There's a live shot of Dragon right there. Who needs life support? Yep. Yeah, we wouldn't want that. But then again, Tessa, if it's on a rocket, we would want it to explode just in one direction. I mean, am I right or am I right? What about the Fortnite bus? What's a Fortnite bus? I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never played that game. It's rewind time. If I was going to control rewind, I would want Fork Knife and Mark-Ass Brownlee. That's hot. I've seen it alleviate, yep. What are we waiting on? Pressure equalization inside of that hatch right there. That hatch is connected to this white ring right here. The white ring is forming kind of a seal between Dragon's hatch and the station hatch. It's called the vestibule. She's shaking a little bit. We gotta wait for it to pressurize. Shaking a little bit. Did anyone ever talk about upgrading the shuttle with the RS-2200 or anything else? Nah, Hellfish, that was never really proposed. The RS-2200, I don't think could do what a shuttle engine could do. I mean, actually, I have to Google that one. Hold on. What are the specs on this thing? Oh yeah, it could. Wow. Man, that thing would have been sweet. You know what the crazy part about that is, Hellfish? This is a gas generator. That's a gas generator. It's open cycle gas generator. It's a J2. It's a J2 in aerospike, in linear aerospike form. Seriously. Its predecessor is the J2S, which was the aerospike, the toroidal aerospike version of that thing. The XRS-2200 is a J2 with an aerospike nozzle, which is unbelievable. So, and that thing was able, in aerospike form, able to get somewhere near the shuttle. That's not comparable at all to a shuttle engine, but the specific impulse is. Now, consider a stage combustion cycle, full flow stage combustion cycle, linear aerospike. Yeah, we could do Venture Star. Yeah, that could be a thing. Even a fuel-rich stage combustion cycle would. Yeah, that would be pretty cash money, dude. Hard disagree, Tessa. No. Nah, Denny, you might as well design a new vehicle from there. Make it Methalox and you got a deal. I'm not sure. Well, I mean, full flow stage combustion cycle Methalox is not going to get you any more than 380, 390 specific impulse, nerd, but I would go with fuel rich. Hydrolox. Yeah. Oh, that would be nice. So basically take the RS-25 and make it the RS-2500. Dude, that would be a monster. It would be a monster of a system. I mean, it'd be super freaking complicated, but fuel-rich stage combustion, hydrolox, linear aerospike, you'd be looking at shuttle engine thrust with a 460-second specific impulse literally the entire time. Would be interesting to get an aerospike running in operation to see if the benefits are actually there. Station's wiggling around a little bit. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, Rocket, like, that's the thing. This is why they never did that. Like, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, dudes. What? Why? Why would you even bother? Why would you bother putting a linear aerospike on the space shuttle? Why would that even, you wouldn't even make, the shuttle engine already does that. The shuttle engine makes 460 second specific impulse out of the box. Why would you do this? What's the point? I don't, you know, Rocket, you're right. I'm not sure there is any benefit there. I mean, it would be cool. I mean, you could definitely get more thrust. There's 2 Dragons docked to the ISS. What causes the station to wiggle like that? Could be something as simple as somebody moving around inside of it, Buffalo. Seriously, someone's moving around in the module, they grab a handle, it'll wiggle the space station a little bit. It's not as solid as you think it is. It does wiggle around. It's supposed to. You want it to bend and flex. That's Crew-4's Dragon right there. That's Dragon Freedom. And then you can see the nose cone from Crew-5 Dragon Endurance on the left. So would Venture Star have been better off with shuttle engines? Yeah, you probably could have gotten away with it, Waz. Sure. It's going all right, drummer. They are docked. We're waiting on vestibule pressurization, but we haven't heard any audio.
Prime for.
I was gonna say we haven't heard any audio in a little bit, but that's because I have it muted.
Station.
Oh,
He was
there we
given
go.
a go to safing and applying the ISS power to Dragon.
There's 2 docking ports that Dragon can get at, Tony. There's PMA-3 and PMA-2. That's what the 2 Dragon capsules are attached to. PMA-3 is the one that's facing up. PMA-2 is the one that's facing that way. They're inside of PMA-2. PMA-3 is up there. If they turn this camera upright, you'd be able to see into the Crew-4 Dragon. Shell looks like he's sniffing around for haz gas. Probably checking a leak. Or at least that's what I thought that thing was. I don't know. Shell's checking the watch there. How much bandwidth does the ISS have? The ISS has an insane amount of bandwidth, Concrete. In fact, the ISS wrote the book on high bandwidth communications through like for a space station. It's extremely high. Yeah, it has very high bandwidth. Now, don't get me wrong. Shell isn't about to go play Fork Knife and go have a good connection. If he tried to play a video game right now, his ping would be insane. The ping would be ridiculous. The reason why the ISS has high bandwidth communications is for all the systems on board. That's what takes up the majority of the bandwidth. There is an internet connection, and the internet connection is okay. It's okay. It's not the best. But that's because most of the bandwidth is used to move to relay the data from the life support and all the other critical systems on the ISS. Yeah, Rocket Guy, yep. Well, the video is one of those things that takes up bandwidth, Concrete. Turn-based games only. When did they test connection via laser? What do you... Oh, I'm not sure. Pathos, I have no idea. Did you hear about the ISS cybersecurity team? They work 24/7. No, I haven't. But yeah, someone's moving around in the Japanese experiment modules. Wiggling all over the place. Yeah, Hazareth, the internet connection up there for connectivity for like stuff that's not data from telemetry is terrible. Yeah, they can answer emails and that's about it. Yeah, it has been upgraded over time, right? Sure. How long ago did it dock? About an hour ago. Should be about 30 minutes out here. No Netflix in 4K. That's the Kibo, the Japanese storage
Station
module.
Houston on the Big Loop. Patel.
How do they know the weight of things that they load into
Wadi,
the capsule?
for the hatch opening, you can continue to execute in step 3.3.
How do they know the weight of things they load into the capsule normal scale?
We go in 3.3.
They use mass microwave? They don't use... Mass is what matters in space, not weight. Oh, Hellfish, it's absurd. It's got to be in the gigs, easily. I mean, see all the stations in mission control?
Dragon on the Big Loop for toilet.
For what?
Hey, Nicole, I'm with you on the Big Loop.
Hey, Jake, I know you have some deltas when we secure the way system, but in the meantime, is the way system operational?
What a question. Stand by one.
I'll be honest with you. I was still a little salty about F1 Manager. I'm not salty anymore. I don't know why that snapped me out of it, of all things, but that's pretty damn funny. So actually, guys, if you look right there, you can see the clouds reflecting off of Earth on the
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop. Report ready to copy. I think we should just have you step into the troubleshooting we have planned for later.
Hey, Jake, I happen to be up here, so I'm ready to execute your troubleshooting if you want.
Okay, Josh, we are going to have you turn on the waste fan and then head down to location 22, open the access panel, and check for flow through the mesh, then report back. How copy?
Well, I didn't think I'd sit here and...
Okay, copy. We're going to turn on the waste fan and then go down to 22 and see if we've got flow through the mesh.
I didn't think I'd be sitting here explaining to people that the astronauts are troubleshooting the toilet on Dragon today, but here we are. I saw it, Forge. It's a deep space toilet, yeah.
And that was the core in MCCX, SpaceX's mission control in Hawthorne, California.
It's like I said yesterday, man. This stuff happens.
Josh Cassada.
It happens,
as they
dude.
continue to proceed through steps, making Dragon ready for its long-duration stay, eventually being configured for a quiescent mode, and that will remain there for 6 months. There will be periodic checks throughout Dragon's stay to check on the spacecraft's health before departing 6 months down the road.
Jake, we've got bad news or good news, depending on how you look at it. We do feel flow down in location 22, and we're guessing you want us to go grab the cat from the earlier demo.
Dragon, that's a good read. You're ahead of us. We do want you to go install the cap, and we're going to plan to leave it installed through the dock duration. How copy?
Copy that. We'll install it with the cotter pins and leave it through the dock duration. Thanks.
You got a privacy curtain, Van. The toilet's actually up here. It's on the top of the spacecraft. So the main displays are right here. The seats are basically right here facing this way. The hatch to get in is down there. The environmental control systems are on the bottom, and then this is an open space. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the toilet's over here. I think it's down there. It's on one of these. It's on one of these sides. It's next to the hatch. It's above the door next to the hatch. It's right in there. And yeah, privacy curtain. Think like a shower curtain. Yeah. So.
Currently seeing dual boxes, the Dragon Endurance attached to the space station on your left, and that's astronaut Chill lingering inside the International Space Station as he continues preparations for Crew-5's ingress into the space station. Again, we're looking for ingress to be about 35 minutes from now.
There you go.
Looking at 5:42 p.m. Central Time, 6:42 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, that's it right there. It does it have a poo emoji on it? Somebody could think that's an ice cream dispenser, man. Having it physically in your hand, Jax, is way better. Not that. The experiments from your question, not the poop. Yeah. This always comes up every time there's a crew mission. If you guys are wondering, vacuum cleaner. Very gentle.
Sensation on 2 on the big
vacuum
loop.
Cleaner.
The gas detector is reading 0 after 5 minutes.
Very.
Houston, copy.
Very gentle. They haven't herded 3 seashells up there. Huh? Yeah, vacuum. Yeah, vacuum. You don't do that when you have the suit on, Tony. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Forge. Those are great pictures. Frank Rubio right there. Jessica Watkins is down there. Jill Lindgren's over there. Frank Rubio flew up there on the Soyuz the other day. Jess came up on Crew-4. That's Bob Hines right there.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop for waste system.
Oh, here we go. Who update?
Go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Josh, we've got a few thoughts here, working through it with the back room. We're wondering if you've installed the cap already, and if you have not, we're wondering if you could run a quick test to sort of characterize the flow through the funnel, standby 1.
Yeah, Forge, yeah.
Okay, following up, we are going to have you install the cap, and then you are clear to use the waste system as normal.
Got it, banana time.
Okay, sounds good. The cap is installed, and we did verify that we've got good flow at the funnel now. Thanks.
They have.
Okay, we copy good flow at the funnel, and again, you are good to use the system as normal.
That's good to know, man.
Copy that, Jake. Thanks.
There's Samantha Cristoforetti. She's the station. Thank you, chat. Air game is on point, as per usual. Why are they taking pictures? To post on their Instagram? No, it's documenting all the procedures of getting the PMA and the vestibule ready to go. Intelsat is delayed 13 minutes. Intelsat? Yeah, you don't want that. No one wants a clogged toilet in space. I'm serious, guys. Think about it for a second. If that gets messy in gravity, in microgravity, that's good. That's gonna get. It's gonna get. Oh, Galaxy 33 and 34 are Intelsat. Thank you. Samantha's a vet, isn't she? Yeah, Vasia. Samantha flew on Soyuz prior. She flew with NASA astronaut Terry Virts. And actually, Terry's not an astronaut anymore. He retired. And she flew with Anton Skaplerov. That was one of the first. That was back in 2014. That was one of the first ISS missions. That's when Vasia, that mission was when I started following every mission to the ISS, every single one, and I followed every single one to the ISS literally since then. But yeah, that was the first crew launch that I really kept track of. Before, I didn't really keep too good a track of it, but yeah, that's when I really started to keep track of everything that's going on there. So because of that, Skap is one of my favorite cosmonauts, dude.
Station Houston on the bid loop.
Over station on the big loop.
All right, you have a go to perform step 3.6, and we'll take the gas detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Okay. So has there ever been a retired astronaut who flew back to the space station as a private astronaut?
Detector reading from inside the vestibule.
Literally the Axiom mission.
Houston copies.
Okay. Michael Lopez Alegria flew on the shuttle a bunch of times. Yep. Okay. Shell is going to get in there. He's going to open up the A-pass hatch there. And Bob Hines is documenting it.
And that was that was Capcom, Amy Dill, to the crew on the big loop, telling them that they could take some readings for the vestibule.
They use a floaty,
still in those operations, preparing
I prefer the suck
for
cut.
the hatch opening. Still scheduled now for 5:42 p.m.
Sure
Central
really counts,
Time,
though, 6:42
p.m. Eastern Time. If you're just joining us, we had a successful docking of the Crew-5 crew to the International Space Station at 4:01 p.m. Central, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time, while the Dragon and the International Space Station were flying 259 Statute miles off the west coast of Africa.
No, they'll shift change after the docking, Buzz, if you really want to know. As you can see, it sucks, and it cuts. Well, it certainly does suck.
We're currently in a brief handover period between satellites and should have those views of the International Space Station and Dragon back for you shortly.
ISS is up over British Columbia right there. There's an inside shot. There's Jessica Watkins right there with the tab on her thigh, moving towards us.
And they're
Shell
back.
does have the
you
hatch
currently
open.
see the APAS hatch open. That was Jessica Watkins floating through. And
just
we
said
now
that,
see NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren going over to continue the hatch operations to ready for the ingress of Crew-5. Just moments ago, they were given a go by Mission Control Houston to do readings of the vestibule, making sure that it was right pressure and the right mix inside the vestibule before opening the hatch of Dragon.
Houston station on the big loop. Gas detector readings of 0 in the vestibule.
So you see this panel right there? That's the front of Dragon, right there.
We copy. Readings of 0 in the vestibule.
That is the hatch that we saw when Dragon was going to dock. So if we just go back here real quick, see that? See the white hatch? That's what Shell's putting his feet up against right now. See it right there? Now, what Shell's going to do is get the targeting... Jessica's head. Shell's going to get the targeting indicator on the APAS. This is the APAS docking hatch. He's going to get the targeting indicator open. He's going to get this thing off, and then he's going to put a protected cover over the mating surface on the APAS hatch. Oh, sweet. We got close-ups. You could literally see Dragon in there. See it? That's the front of Dragon right there. Yeah, Darius. Did you see this? Yeah, the second stage deorbit. Looks just like Kerbal, doesn't it? It's kind of weird. Life imitates art. Now we know it's at least in one of the bags. Yep, 5040 is the APAS hatch cover. This Elon plate Kerbal, yeah. What's all that other stuff? Those are Starlink satellite signer. That's different mission. That's the Starlink mission, not the Crew-5 mission.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Dude, nice wrench. Nice wrench. Hey. Nice wrench. Hammer. To the resub, dude. Only downside to space, same dress code as Best Buy. Chip, that's pretty funny. It is, isn't it? Nothing wrong with car keys and blue shirts? What? Ah, Bandit doesn't. Why are you talking about your car keys? We're talking about pants. I don't know, Agblocks. Maybe they've done it already. What are the bags? Storage bags, Clayton. That bag has the protective cover for the APAS to protect the seals and make sure that no astronauts go bump into the seals because they're sharp. That's what Samantha has in her hands right there. The left side, the woman on the left side of the screen with the black shirt on. Those are the covers to the APAS. Shell is taking apart the docking array, the targeting array on the APAS hatch. And they're going to put the protective covers on. What about corn? Corn has the juices, obviously. How much would you give to have the shop in Bandits last? I basically do. My shop isn't that big, but still. He hit his head on the CBM hatch, Joe, up here. See this thing right there? He hit his head on the CBM. Yeah, got a little bloody. Yeah, radioactive, it's, yeah, something you don't ideally want, but Doug was fine. Okay. So Gel is looking to get that APAS secured here. It is in the upright position, and they do have the covers on it. Bob is helping him out, and Samantha's taking pictures, from what I can tell. There's two dragons up there, Morrow. There's one obviously outside of PMA2, so you know I'll weatherman around here for a second. There's one outside of PMA2 that we just saw dock, and then if you go that way, there's another one of these CBMs. So above Frank's head right there, that's Frank Rubio. He flew up on Soyuz. There's another one up there. Dragon Freedom is up there. Dragon Endurance is out there. Yes, Flacken, yes, absolutely. Yep, see? And then the mechanical strap to hold the hatch open is secured here. They're going to bring in positive pressure with that tube right there. Dragon basically shuts its life support systems down when it's docked to the ISS, and then it basically taps power from the ISS. There's a secondary umbilical that's on Dragon. Oh, no, not that one. That's the toilet. You see that umbilical right there? This little plug, the thing that looks like a wall socket? There you go. There's two of them. There's one on either side. Double redundancy. Dragon will basically go into standby mode, and it'll tap into the ISS for power. It basically has shore power with the ISS. Shore power, to use boat nomenclature. And they bring in positive pressure in there. There's going to be a vent line that goes into the Dragon, and they use that. They blow air into it, so air comes back into the ISS, so it can get into the circulation systems. When is the next return for pilots home? Crew-4 is going to come down. The astronauts you see over here, not Frank. Frank just got up there. Those three and Jessica Watkins, who's not in frame right now. So Shell, Samantha, and Bob are going to come down in a week. Yeah, Forge. What's the gem? Japanese experiment module. It's over there. You can tell because of the writing. So over here, you'll see 2 COL. And that's the Columbus module. And this one says 2 GEM. The Japanese experiment module is this way. That's just for orientation when you're floating around in the ISS. No, Gil, I mean, maybe some residual, right? But most of the systems are powered down. What's the PSI they'll be pumping in? The station is at atmosphere, Clayton, with nitrox. They're using nitrox like scuba divers. The reason why is because you want to have inert gas inside of a pressurized volume, but you also need oxygen, which is not inert at all, in there, so we can breathe. So they have the station's full of nitrox, but it's at 14.7 psi. It's 1 bar inside of the station, or close to it. It's not that far off. Columbus has the cupola, right? No. If we go this way, that way down the station, they're inside of Node 2 right now. Node 2 is attached to the Destiny module, the U.S. laboratory, which is that way. Samantha's going towards it now. And then the Destiny module is attached to Node 1, the Unity module. And attached to the left side, or the port side of the Unity module, is Node 3, Tranquility. And the cupola is attached to the nadir of Node 3. It's about 100 feet that way. TNT, what's going on? Hair game on point. Yeah, Forge, yeah, right. What's the most amount of people occupied in the ISS at once in history? There's been 2 Soyuz crews up there before and an entire shuttle crew. So 7, 3, and 3. So 13. Maybe a +1 for a station stay. So 14, I think. We're at 11 right now once that crew gets in. It's the shuttle. The shuttle flew 7 people. And you could comfortably fly 7 people in that sucker. Too bad the shuttle crew only stayed for 2 weeks. Yeah. She looks like Edward Scissorhands. Oh my gosh, you're right. This is a shot on Dragon's forward-facing camera looking in the ISS now. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's pretty neat. Is 14 people the maximum for the ISS? That's the most that's been on there. I mean, Clayton, you could make more beds. You can make more bedrooms on there if you really want to. Okay, some's peeking. Look, you can see Bob and Jessica right there. And then Samantha's moving forward. You can see Frank right there. And then Chell is just chelling over there. And then the Russians should be down there sooner rather than later. Oh, there they are. White suit. What's Samuel the sippy cup? Ah, that's water. Chell's drinking. That's drinking Space Capri Sun right there. It's water or juice or whatever. Three out of 5 astronauts will sleep in Columbus till Crew 4 undocking. Cole, the commander, will sleep inside a Dragon alone. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It could be coffee. Yeah. Ask him what that water used to be. Shh. Hey, the toilets on the ISS work correctly, okay, Clap? Just saying.
Reporting.
We are ready to copy.
Thank you, Tyron. Every couple of months.
Okay, for water inventory, from bag 203, we consumed all 5 bottles. And from bag 204, we consumed all 5 bottles. And from bag 207, 2 bottles consumed. And from bag 208, all 5 bottles were consumed. And that's the end of the water inventory.
Every
copy on water, 203, 5 bottles, 204, 5 bottles, 207, 2 bottles, and 208, 5 bottles. And I've got one more question for you. We do bookmark one of those for the waste system flush. I wonder if you have already taken that into account.
And no wonder they have to use the toilet. That was a joke.
Yes, we have taken that bottle into account for the water
Do the Russians
flush.
often send women into space? Yeah,
Perfect.
sure. Why
And
not?
we're with you for food.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, every once in a while, sure.
Okay, for food, from bag 301, breakfast and lunch consumed. From bag 302, snack and dinner were consumed. Those are fully consumed. And from bag 309, 3/4 of breakfast and 3/4 of lunch were consumed. And from bag 310,
every step kid needs to get
fully
documented.
consumed, and half dinner is consumed. That's the end of the food inventory.
We copy 301, 2 meals consumed, 302, both items consumed, 309.
Yeah, the hair is getting near me.
And a lunch.
Samantha!
10 had snack consumed and half a dinner. And I've got one hanging question for you.
No, it's coming back!
Plan to dispose of all the half-eaten and 3/4 eaten items?
It'll be about 5 minutes for equalization.
Understood. Go from the Dragon crew and then head.
Yeah, Jake, that's affirmative. We will consume those partially consumed ones. We will trash those partially consumed food on the ISS.
Okay, we copy all. Thanks,
Neil, most of the food is not like... You basically leftovers. They'll just eat it later.
Thank you, Jake.
Do they use meal heaters like MREs at all, or is it all cold? The ISS has an oven on it. I'm not sure about Dragon Hellfish. You know what's weird? So Samantha's using a tablet, and I'm like, man, why is that tablet so thin? And then I realized that it doesn't have a case on it. It's not like you need to worry about dropping it. And then that made sense.
You just heard on Dragon to Ground loop, the Crew-5 crew inside
gonna
of
do,
Dragon
drop it?
Endurance gave a reading on the consumables that they used while in flight
I
in
was like,
approach
man,
and docking
it
to
doesn't
the
need that.
International
You don't
Space
need that.
Station.
Why
We
do
are
you
just
need that? What are you gonna
awaiting
do? Drop it?
them, the Crew-5 crew, to give an okay.
You could hurl it.
for
Yeah.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground or working towards hatch opening.
How large is one of their bottles of water, Piper? It looks like a Capri Sun pouch, dude. Yeah. Seriously, it looks like a bigger Capri Sun. It's about this big.
Go ahead, Jake, for hatch opening.
Okay, here we go. That's Dragon's
Koichi,
hatch right there.
Understand you're not quite through 4.400. We've got some itchy folks here on the ground looking to equalize across the hatch. We're looking to perform the first few steps of Section 6, equalize across the Dragon hatch, while you continue with Section 5
I'm not
for
sure,
the waste
John.
system flush. How copy?
Yeah, it's probably in metric, dude, because everything up there is in metric.
Yeah, we copy.
Yeah, it's probably 500 milliliters. Yeah, if I had to guess, I mean, I don't know. He's taking down another bag. Bob's taking down a bag there. Bag 4085. Not sure what
And
it
you
is.
just heard the core Jake Vindel and SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California talk to Koichi
so
Wakata
weird, dude.
aboard Dragon Endurance.
Just pull this big thing, whatever.
He
no
relayed
problem.
that the ISS crew on board station is ready for equalization,
All right.
and that
See
they
Dragon's
could
hatch
continue
right there.
procedures
Oh.
on their side as the ISS crew begins the
Is that a
equalization
balloon?
of Dragon. We are looking for about a 5-minute timer on that. After that period, teams will verify that the hatch is good to open between the space station and Endurance.
I can't decide whether just leaving stuff out like that would be really cool or would not be really cool. Oh, it's the guy's back. I was like, what are you looking at there?
Jake on Dragon to ground. I am with you here in Section 6, and Josh is working Section 5.
Copy, Nicole. And just to confirm, we want to
It's
make sure
mounted,
Dragon
Mert.
Crew is ready to equalize across the hatch.
Ah, yes. The duct tape. Guys, they have the duct tape. We're good.
Affirm, Dragon crew ready to equalize
See the
across
duct
the
tape over
hatch.
there? Yep. I never
Okay,
noticed
copy.
that.
We will send that command shortly.
Yeah, see, they got duct tape. It'll work. Okay, that's weird.
And again, you just heard Jake Vindel
Really weird,
report
man.
to the crew that they are ready for
Just-
hatch
all right.
equalization.
All right, bye. I'm
So
popping
that's
away.
ISS crew and
Da,
the
da,
crew inside
da,
Dragon
da, da,
Endurance
da, da,
are ready to equalize the hatch.
Okay.
Again, the clock will start about a 5-minute timer. After that period, teams will verify that the hatch is good to open between the space station and Endurance.
The Destiny module. It's that way.
Station and Dragon, Houston on the Big Loop. Stand by for equalization, which is expected to take 5 minutes.
Okay, here we go. They're going to equalize the pressure between Dragon and the ISS.
Dragon copies. Station copies, 5 minutes.
And you just heard it, 5 minutes for equalization. Once that process has begun, and that was Jessica Watkins on board the International Space Station and Nicole Mann inside Endurance, confirming that they heard the go for equalization.
On 3 for ops products.
With you, Sam.
Yeah, I know we've got some critical events going on, but we also have some time-critical activities after hatch opening. I just wanted to mention right now we're not able to refresh Optimus or access the ops products anywhere on iPad or SSC.
Okay, we copy, Sam. We'll discuss down here.
And Houston, as a follow-up, it seems like one of the laptops now finally was able to open Optimus. So it might have been just a very slow situation for a moment.
You think we'll build the
keep
first
looking at
Expanse
it.
style station? Oh, I don't know, Hellfish.
Okay, Copy. Thanks for the report.
The Axiom. What's up, Slackster? Sorry, I had to answer a message real quick. How does gravity affect our blood flow and saliva? It doesn't mess with the blood flow it too much. I mean, it's something that needs to be taken into account. What space really screws with is muscle atrophy. You're not using your legs. And I don't know if you guys know a little bit about biology, but your legs they flow a lot of blood. You know why? Because you got to stand up. You got to stand up. There's a lot of muscles being used to do this, right? I know, my shorts are sweet, right? So you got to really worry about atrophy. These guys literally, I know it's a joke, but no, they never skip leg day, Slackster. Yeah. Never. Okay, that's close. They never skip leg day. You have to, because muscle atrophy is a big deal. You will lose your muscles, and then you will come back down. You will come back down here, and you'll try to walk, and you will go into cardiac arrest. Because your heart's going to try to move the blood so fast, and your muscles can't do it. It would be like you trying to pick up a semi-truck. It's not going to happen. Right? Do you skip leg day? No. So they really have to work out a lot because they're worried about muscle atrophy. And also you need calcium because your bone density goes down in space. Your bone density is a big deal. You literally they haven't really figured. I'm not gonna say they haven't really figured that one out yet because I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it screws with your bones and stuff. Do they have arm days too? Plate and everything. You gotta, yeah. They do cardio. They do leg day. It's a full body workout, guys. The astronauts and cosmonauts, and it's not just the astronauts. The Russians do this too because human biology is human biology. It doesn't matter what country you come from. That doesn't matter. You got to work everything. Work all your muscles, and you got to keep this muscle, the ticker. You have to keep that one going too, because yeah. You'll come back down here if you don't work out in space. They work out for 2 hours every day. If you come back down here, your heart will go into overdrive trying to oxygenate all your muscles, and you will just pass the frick out. It definitely, the sternum is not an organ, but all right. You got to keep the ticker. Yeah, so you gotta worry about stuff like that, man. Yeah, they have a treadmill up there. The treadmill up there is called the Combined Operational Load Bearing Resistance Treadmill. It's called the Colbert. It's true. Here is a vid. Smith is taking a picture of me. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go, Aqualux. That's it. Do they have pressure pads like in Portal? What? Oh, who kept the flash on? Is there a launch as well? The SpaceX launch got delayed a little bit. Please tell me it creates a rapport every time someone uses it. You have to say, yeah, as long as it says rapport. Do they use electric muscle simulation devices at all? If not, why? I don't think they do, Mycon. I think they just work out. Do you understand Russian? Doga. Yeah. The quote on the Russian shirt is, "The impossible today will become possible tomorrow." Spasiba. Thanks, man. Maybe Hokie. Who knows?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hokie gifted a sub to They Live. I like Elon's quote of turning the impossible into late. Pretty smart, man. That's a pretty smart thing, dude. You're not wrong. Question, why are there always dead pixels on camera in space? Like in, would you put a DSLR in a microwave? Why not? Because it would fry it. Well, solar radiation do be like that. It kills the pixels in the DSLR.
Dragon on Dragon to ground for configuration.
So you're telling me to put a camera on the microwave? No, I asked you, would you? Differences.
Okay, we're complete with section 5. We're standing by here in section 6. We've got the suits drying. I've got 7 more minutes on the timer. Big picture, are you thinking that we're going to open the forward hatch and then go in for a quick hello and then come back to finish up with the suits and then step into the ISS procedure?
Instructions unclear, Taro. Interesting, Synerd. No, you sweat inside of the spacesuit, Leglander. They don't want mold.
Dragon, that's a good read. We
so
are
they
going
dehumidify the
to
suits.
step into the hatch open process right now, and then have you come on back for some final cabin configuration steps.
There should be another SpaceX launch here momentarily, Flat, believe it or not. I want that.
Okay, copy. So we're gonna on your go, we will get that hatch open, and then I'll check with you before we enter ISS and say hello. Then we'll come back and finish up with our suits, and then we'll also execute 2.102.
Copy all, and that's a good read. Stand by 1.
Yeah, you don't want space mold, Nachos. Nobody wants a moldy spacesuit, dude. That, like, in all seriousness, that sounds disgusting. Yeah, we don't want that.
And we have confirmation inside Mission Control that Crew Dragon is equalized to the International Space Station.
Oh, can you imagine?
The crew inside Dragon and the ISS are ready for hatch open.
Yes, that would be just hell no. And then it gets into your HVAC systems. Dude, screw that times 3. Yeah, how about we dry the suits? Let's dry the suits. That's a good plan. Life finds a way. Easy way to disinfect things in space, though, put them in the airlock. That's kind of sus, Synerd. Kind of sus. Apparently Mir got moldy. It did. Yep. Hinks are you all right? You shower with socks on? Why? Are you a psycho? What's wrong with you?
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. You are go for Dragon hatch opening for the decal, followed by the remaining
Absolutely not okay. I need help.
400 section 6.
What the hell, man? What's going on?
Dragon copies. We're opening the forward hatch and finishing up section 6.
They're opening the forward hatch. You monster!
You just heard confirmation to the crew that they are
sorry,
going for hatch
I don't mean to call you out, man. I'm sorry.
And you can see smiling and waving.
All right, here we go. Open up the hatch.
The forward hatch on the Crew Dragon Endurance has been opened.
With the permaban, I deserve it. All right, they're waving. They're going to open up the hatch here in a moment.
The crew inside.
That's the hatch on the front of Dragon here.
The crew inside International Space Station are all smiles and waves as they see the beginning of ingress from the Crew-5 crew from Dragon Endurance.
Keeps the flash on. What are you doing? Samantha, come on, man.
And that was a confirmed hatch open at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, 6:49 p.m. Eastern Time.
Nachos. All right. We should have the hatch open. These are you're looking at the front of Dragon. Those are the crews inside of the ISS. They just got to open up the hatch. The hatch does have a camera on it. It also has a window so they can see. They'll be popping out here. The Crew-5 crew members will be popping out of the hatch here momentarily. When did Crew-5 launch? Yesterday. Okay, T-Man. Yep. At the gym, I showered with flip-flops. Yeah, Gugu, that makes sense. Nobody, you don't want to touch the floor in the gym. Nah, hard pass. Okay, that was a space torque wrench. Yeah, Deadbringer, that's fair. That's fair. I got you. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. There's no socks. Well, no, they have socks up there. There's no shower on the ISS, by the way. Yeah, I thought I'd let you know. How do they clean themselves? Baby wipes. Yeah. You take some water and spray it on a baby wipe and then they use dry shampoo. Yeah. No shower. How are you gonna make a shower? Oh, interesting, Aqualux, yeah. Skylab did have a shower, and it basically was a beach ball that you inflated yourself inside of and then turned the water on.
That hatch we've been waiting for is now open since docking at 4:01 p.m. Central Time, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Hatch opening taking place at 5:49 p.m.
The shower on Skylab was
6:49.
It was like a beach ball.
Eastern
you
Time.
got inside of the beach ball, and then you sealed it, and then
on the International
it had a
Space
vacuum
Station
cleaner at
as
the bottom.
They eagerly await the ingress of
the water
Crew-5.
flowed, and it sucked it down. Yeah, that's I mean, that is pretty cool. They should have done that on here, but you can't do that. Hatch is open.
The hatch is open, but Crew-5 astronauts will need to work through a few more steps and gather some imagery as well.
All right, we can see inside of Dragon Endurance there.
At the time of hatch open, Dragon and the International Space Station were flying 263 statute miles above the South Atlantic Ocean.
There we go. Basically what they did, Raiden, yeah. They made positive pressure to get the water to flow in one direction. It's actually pretty smart, but yeah, it didn't really work too well. It kind of goes in, Flykin, and then it goes down.
Like, maybe just a couple more minutes before Crew-5 astronauts ingress the space station to be welcomed onto their new home for the next 6 months as a part of Expedition 68.
I don't know, Yoshi.
As they walk through a few more procedures.
ISS, but I will tell you, the Gemini program tried to replicate the accelerated forces of gravity. Not a lot of people know that. There was a Gemini capsule that found an Agena target stage, and they roped it to the Agena, and then they spun the capsules end over end. They spun the Agena and the Gemini capsule end over end to see what would happen. Yeah, Gemini missions were a little nuts. They did that with people on board. That's a little crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a little dangerous. Sounds fun. I mean, it probably was. I'd probably have fun. Either that or I'd puke.
The crew inside of Dragon Endurance are installing some IMV ducting, mixing the air of the space station environment with the air inside of Crew Dragon Endurance. They'll seal some of the LiO, or lithium hydroxide cartridges that scrubbed carbon dioxide inside of Dragon capsule on the ride to the International Space Station, and they'll check some vent valves
here we
as
go.
well. So
who's coming in
just
first?
A little bit more time until we welcome them on board the International Space Station.
Nicole was
and
first.
Here we come through. First one through the hatch is going to be Nicole Mann, commander of Dragon, and now the first Native American woman to live and stay aboard the International Space Station.
Yeah, I had a bad experience.
All hugs and smiles going around.
Hey. Oh, flashlight. It's a freaking flashlight. Just goes across.
Next
That's
one
funny.
through the hatch is Josh Cassida, the pilot of Dragon.
That was a good handshake.
He's getting his welcome and hellos from the crew aboard
Wakata-san! Konnichiwa!
And we see
hair.
Right now, right past Nicole Mann's hair, is Koichi Wakata of JAXA coming through the hatch.
That's cool, man. Where's Anna? Anna's coming in.
And last but not least, Anna Kikina of Roscosmos.
The hair! Oh, that's awesome!
The International Space Station. And Crew-5 is officially ingressed from Dragon Endurance.
Oh, man, that's nuts.
Into their home for the next 6 months, the International Space Station.
That's cool, man. That's freaking sweet. You know that they said something. They were like, yeah, dude, was Anna just flashing the horns? She's just flashing horns. Hell yeah.
And with the addition of Crew-5 on board, there is currently 11 astronauts inside the International Space Station.
Awesome. Yeah, Anna's from Roscosmos, Buck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. Theater's handover. How long until 4 departs? They got about a week. How many times has Noguchi been up there? 3, I think, Tessa. That's not Suichi Noguchi, for what it's worth. If that, just in case, I'm pretty sure you know that. That's Koichi Wakata. Wakata-san. Different guy. What agency will provide the beer? Net worth. Pretty sure the Russians have some filtered potato juice over on their side of the station for ceremonial purposes. Filtered potato juice. You know what I mean. It's medicinal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
Remember on a brief handover between satellites. I should have the acquisition of signal back shortly. Bringing you more views inside the International Space Station.
How many miles out of the ISS?
270. Ingress the station.
Medicinal potato extract.
And now we have the 11-person crew of Expedition 67 now all together in Node 2 of the International Space Station.
Is it organic? It's potatoes. It comes from the ground. Of course it's organic. You know, oil comes from the ground too. Oh, there's the thing longer. You think I'm kidding? The thing longer. I've created a device that allows you to reach longer than your fingers. Good news, everyone. I call it the thing longer. That's literally what that is for. It's for reaching. I'm not even kidding. It's a thing longer. Koichi Wakata, Tessa flew on the shuttle 3 times, and then on Soyuz once, and now on Dragon.
Welcome ceremony shortly after ingress of the crew. However, today, the crew will be unloading critical science and investigations, as well as finishing up some of those procedures to make Dragon ready for their 6-month stay docked to the International Space Station.
Hey. Yeah. Yeah. That makes me laugh. That's awesome. Oh no! Oh man, that's pretty funny. What module do they use to boost the ISS? They use progress capsules. Oh, space ratchet. This girl crazy. Ilya, you see that, man? Dude, that's awesome.
We are
That's awesome.
expecting a welcoming ceremony around 7:15 p.m. Central Time.
Samantha's like, yeah.
We'll have a brief intermission between the ingress of the crew as they unload that critical science and hardware from Dragon Endurance into the International Space Station.
For real, right?
Again, we're expecting a welcome event for the crew around 7:15.
Pretty rad, man.
p.m. Central Time.
This is Samantha
p.m. Eastern Time.
Samantha Cristoforetti's over there. Jessica Watkins is right there. Jessica and Samantha are rolling short hair. Anna gives no fricks. She's just like, mute. That's an iPad. Or an Android. No, it's an iPad. Oh, yeah, that would suck. Look, fam. Yeah. Dry shampoo is what you need up there.
And that was an incredible day and a 29-hour rendezvous for the Crew-5 crew after launching successfully yesterday from the launch complex at Kennedy Space Center, Launch Complex 39A, at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 Eastern.
They threw him out the airlock. Sorry, man.
The crew docked at 4:01 p.m. Central Time.
He was kind of sus.
5:01 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's cool.
And just moments ago, at 5:49 p.m. Central Time, the hatch from Dragon Endurance was opened, and we just saw Crew-5 welcomed aboard the International Space Station. The population of the space station now at 11 human beings as a part of Expedition 68. It's been an incredible 24 hours for Crew-5, and from all of us here in Houston, welcome aboard Crew-5.
They don't
That's
swap
our coverage
capsules,
for
dude.
now, but do join us for the Crew-5 welcoming event and remarks at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. This is Mission Control Houston.
It takes 2 hours to equalize the pressure. Yeah. Well, hey, good doc right there. We got a SpaceX launch happening now. Blood Fam, okay, so I'm gonna nerd the frick out here for a second. All right, so what we were looking at a shot, and the shot into the capsule has there's four major components here. You have Node 2, which is this big cylindric thing, all right? You have the pressurized mating adapter, or PMA. You have the IDA, and you have Dragon, okay? So the reason why it takes a second is, one, you got to be careful. You don't want to risk just flash pressurizing these things and blowing a seal somewhere. So take your time, do it right. Make sure you're not leaking. You don't have a lot of oxygen up there. There's a lot of not oxygen up there, you know what I'm saying? So SpaceX should be happening very soon. So first thing they need to do is they need to open up the CBM hatch, which is, see this kind of square-ish thing? See that silver hatch? That's the PMA hatch. And then inside of there, you have this docking port that you can see right there. It's under a cover right now, and it's being held in place in the upright position, right? So from there, that's the toilet. So from there, you got to open up the hatch, and then you got to open up the APAS hatch, which is right here. So APAS is the one that opens upright. And then before you do that, you have to open up a manual valve that'll pressurize the IDA. The IDA is a ring. And you got to make sure that the pressure is equalized there before you open up that APAS hatch. That takes a second. You don't want to flow too fast. You'll shock pressurize the thing and you could blow a gasket, literally. Don't want to do that. That would be a poor decision. Once the vestibule is equalized, right? Then they'll make sure that Dragon's pressure and the ISS's pressure is equalized, and then they open the hatch. That whole process takes a second because you don't want to just, it's not like the movies where it's like, you know, like you want to be slow with it. Diego Costa Development. Thank you very much for the raid. I do appreciate it. So, guys, now I'm going to switch gears. Crew-5 is up and docked here, and we will go over to the Galaxy 3334 launch from SpaceX happening literally right now. We are going to just change gears here real quick, and we're going to go from a capsule dock to the ISS to the Intelsat Galaxy 3334. I said 3435 a second ago, but they're two communication satellites for Intelsat midbands. So yeah, long story short, you got to equalize the pressure slowly. You don't want to shock depress the station. That could be bad. Thanks for the explanation.
Spacecraft on internal power.
Spacecraft's on internal power, I guess. Either that or that's the song. Sorry, on phone. Yeah. The ISS welcoming ceremony is in 1 hour and 10 minutes, okay? Yeah, Bill. Yeah, mirror powered down. Yeah, it's gross, isn't it? Yeah, you don't want that. Drop the beat. Beat. Yeah. Depressurizing is bad for humans, Keanu. I don't think I need to say why, but... Booster is 1060. Yeah, guys, so a little bit on this flight. Intelsat G33, G34. So it's Galaxy 3334. They're communication satellites. Intelsat is a communication satellite provider. But here's the crazy thing. T-Man, you actually reminded me. This booster, guys, is booster Falcon 9 first stage serial number 1060. 1060 is what we call it. It is going to fly for the 14th time. Now, fellas, I think this is, I don't think it's the first one to 14. I'm pretty sure it's the second one. But 14 times for a first stage is... Man, I remember a couple years ago when they were lucky if they got 2 uses out of this. Now, 14. 14. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, remember when 10 was the operational limit? Yeah, I do. It's ridiculous. Here we go.
Base launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence.
7,
10, yeah.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Out of the clouds. We saw that yesterday. Some of the casings did, Winga, yeah.
Vehicle is supersonic. Stage separation confirmed.
Part of the reason why they dumped it.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Magi!
Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
No, they
On your
deorbited in
screen is a
1998.
live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Good evening and welcome to our launch coverage of Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 for our customer Intelsat. My name is Jesse Anderson. I'm a production engineering manager here at SpaceX, and I'm joining you today from our SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. This mission will launch the first 2 of 7 satellites that will replace and refresh a large part of Intelsat's North America Galaxy fleet. The Galaxy 33 satellite will offer continuity for North America cable distribution customers, including HBO, Fox Networks, Stars, and Bally Sports. Galaxy 34 will become Intelsat's new protection satellite, which means it's a backup satellite for the constellation. Now, we'll share more details about the capabilities of the Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 constellation a bit later in the webcast.
T-Man, I'll be right back. I'm going to go see if it's nighttime out here. I'll be right back. One second.
SpaceX's 184th overall mission, 46th this year, and third launch in the last 31 hours. A little over 30 hours ago, we launched NASA's Crew-5 astronauts to the International Space Station from historic Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Dragon arrived at station with the astronauts on board about 2 hours ago, and Crew-5 has ingressed the International Space Station. And there you can see them on the International Space Station live on your screen. There's Commander Nicole Mand there on the screen. And around this time yesterday, we launched our most recent Starlink mission from Space Launch Complex 4E from Vandenberg Space Force Station.
I got clear skies, dudes.
Which brings us to the mission at
I got clear
hand,
skies.
Intelsat Galaxy 33,
I'm going to see if I can get a
Galaxy
picture
34,
of it if it goes
marking
north.
our triple header for the week. Now on your screen is a live view of our Falcon 9 rocket set to launch the Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 satellites from Space Launch Complex 40. With liftoff currently just under 9 minutes from now, let's get to know a little bit more about the rocket that you see on your screen.
If it's not going northeast, guys, we're not going to be able to see it up here in mass. Like, no way. We'll see where it's going. These satellites are probably going to GTO. If they're going to GTO, it's not going to launch this way, which kind of sucks, but the skies are clean. You're right next to Logan. Real, if it was launching in the northeast, up the northeast corridor, we would want to look southeast. Look southeast. Look literally towards Cape Cod. Yeah, you'll see it. But it is going east. It's GTO. Damn.
Transporter 2 and
oh, we got
10
clear skies to it too, man. Damn.
Now, above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine
dude?
that ignites after the first
I used
stage
to know a guy
separates.
that lived
The second
one of the
stage
houses
is
that looked at
what
Logan.
will carry the Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 satellites to orbit.
Hell yeah, man. All
The
right.
satellites are safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, and that is what you see there on your screen. Now that sits on top of the second stage, and it's made of a carbon composite material. The fairing protects these satellites on their way to orbit, and once the vehicle and payload is out in space, we jettison the fairing halves approximately a little over 3 minutes into flight. And lastly, the large trusted structure that you see there next to Falcon 9 is called the Transporter Erector.
Well, guys, all right, not to talk over Jesse too much. You know what? I just had a passing thought. Goalie, if you look, and anybody that's in Central Florida will know, man, it really looks like, the swamp is pretty filled right now, right? This is all wetlands, right? And there usually isn't that much water, but also at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of water. Yeah, it's usually not that filled up, but also
of today's payloads.
in about a week, Ilya. Yeah, supposedly it rained a lot down there recently. Supposedly, no, seriously, it killed people, and that's not okay.
Reliable, resilient
But anyway, here, have this corporate advertisement.
But as the foundational architects of communications technology, we're never done finding new ways to bring value to our customers.
Each launch is a critical step to ensure long-term continuity for the services that we deliver. For some customers, it's about reliability of their mission-critical service. For others, it's about getting the runway to grow their business.
And as our customers' needs grow, our network is evolving with them. At the same time that we're developing the first 5G software-defined ecosystem, we're continuing to strengthen our existing fleet.
Galaxy 33 will be used as a primary cable distribution asset, reaching 99.999% of all US cable subscribers.
8,000 watts.
Galaxy 34, on the other hand, will be a protection satellite, which will ensure very high reliability for our cable distribution services. It will also be used to contribute news and sports content on an occasional basis.
I like sports.
These new satellites will be substantially more powerful, continuing to provide the same broad, consistent coverage as the ones they're replacing, while also helping to broaden future capabilities for the organizations we serve.
Those satellites are extremely important because they're going to help vacate the lower end of the C-band spectrum, which will be used by the mobile network operators to expand their 5G networks. Like the saying is, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a lot of people to build a satellite.
The entire Northrop Grumman team is just very proud to manufacture and deliver Galaxy 33 and 34 to Intelsat and support their commitment to their end customers around the globe.
We're very fortunate we have some of the best people in the industry, and everybody contributed to this big success.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Now we are currently awaiting the retraction of the transporter erector, which should begin here shortly. In preparation for this, the TE clamps. There's that call out. The retraction will begin now. The TE clamps will begin to open first, and then once they are fully open, you could see them moving there on your screen just below the payload fairing. Once that is fully open, then the TE can begin to retract away from the vehicle.
Half a pack of RCS.
T0 ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off. And really incredible view of the vehicle with the sunset in the back.
No, seriously. When the claw arms open and the strong back goes to 88 degrees in the retracted position, that indicates that Falcon 9 is fully fueled and ready for flight. It has full tank of gas. It's actually not carrying gas. It's liquid it's liquid fuel and liquid oxidizer in the form of liquid oxygen and RP1, which is it's diesel fuel. See all the soot from the booster reuse? It's basically diesel fuel. It's a highly refined version of kerosene. You got a word for that. It's called diesel fuel.
The TE is now fully reclined.
Yes. All right. When the rocket goes, the TE is going to shoot off.
At this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen.
Classy diesel fuel.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Great call out there. LOX loading is now complete on the first stage. The second stage should complete around the T-2 minute mark. And you can see a little bit of white clouds there. That is normal. This is because the vehicle
airborne. It's not. We'll
has
see it.
chilled liquid oxygen.
On this, not in real, not like.
And the
unless you're in
clouds
Florida.
that you see
Florida
are
will be
the
able to
chilled
see
gas above the liquid oxygen tank surface that we.
We will fast forward. Prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. T-minus 2 minute 15 and fast forwarding. This will be the third Falcon 9 launch this week. No, go back. We can't. You missed it just now. You're at now.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There's that call out that LOX load and propellant loading on stage 2 is complete. That concludes propellant loading on Falcon 9.
14th flight for this booster.
The Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9.
The two buildings in the background, that is the Space Operations Center. It's called SPOC.
Weather is still looking good for T0.
And then that one's the Solid Rocket Motor Assembly Facility. It's called SMART. These are not NASA. Those are Air Force buildings. SpaceX uses this one to put payloads inside of the fairings. They use it for payload integration. ULA uses the SPOC to make Vulcan. To make Vulcan rockets. They assemble the Vulcan rocket in there. All of this is part of the former Titan.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Titan 3 Integrate Transfer and Launch Complex. This whole complex was designed to launch Titan 3s, Titan 2s, Titan 4s, Titan 34C, Titan 2AS, Titan Transstage, Titan Centaur, Titan Agena. Yeah, designed to launch a lot of rockets. But
excellent news. All
now it's launching Falcon 9.
For launch of Falcon 9 with Intelsat Galaxy 33, Galaxy 34 payloads.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Launch abort has started.
Abort.
Very rare abort from Falcon 9 here. T-minus 30 seconds. Falcon 9 entered into an abort contingency. Huh.
And as you just heard on the countdown, we have a hold. The launch countdown has aborted. We are going to check in with the teams to see if we can get a little bit more information, and we will see if we can bring some information back to you.
There's a lot of lightning in Florida. You do not want lightning hitting your explosion factory that flies up into space. There's stuff on there that doesn't like 1.21 gigawatts, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's golden hour in Florida right now.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
That's all it is. It's all it is. All a rocket is. It's just an explosion factory. It's just making the explosion come out the bottom. That's all. That's the hard part. It's really hard to do that. How did the Saturn V survive the lightning strike? Long story short, Jake, they got lucky. On Apollo 12, it did get hit by lightning, and the lightning arced down the plume. It arced down the flames and then hit the tower right after liftoff, right? And it basically scrambled Saturn V's brains on the way up, and they had to switch the signal condition electronics to an auxiliary system. They basically had to switch to auxiliary power, so Saturn V could figure out what the heck it was doing. Imagine being on a rocket and all of a sudden it freaking turns into a nightclub inside of the capsule. All the lights start flashing, everything starts going off. You flip one switch, it fixes it. It happened. And after Apollo 12, the range, so Space Delta 45 down there, formerly the 45th Space Wing, they invented a rule. The rule is called the Surface Electric Field Rule. Basically, you will not launch a rocket and have the rocket become the lightning rod. If there is a chance that the rocket could make a circuit there, you don't launch. It's one of the rules for launching nowadays. Once again, called the Surface Electric Field Rule. And it's because of Apollo 12, because that thing almost went right after launch. It was close. Okay, they recycled the count to T-minus 15 minutes. It's the don't do that again rule. Yeah.
If you're just now joining us, we did have a hold on the countdown at the T-minus 30-second mark. We are still awaiting a little bit more information from the team, so just give us a moment and we will get back to you.
It's so important for launching that I actually have the signal condition electronic switch on my desk. Don't flip it unless you absolutely need to. Yeah. We needed to. How else was I mean, what was I not gonna flip it? Was I not gonna flip the switch? Yeah, okay. Sure. Oh god, what just happened to my PC? I don't know, check your socks, Hinks. Are we getting the ad again? Arfigo, what? No. Where did you get that switch? Viewer gave it to me. Still soggy. Alright.
Now, if you're just now joining us, we did have an abort on the countdown at the T-minus 30-second mark. This was an auto abort by Falcon 9.
No way, kid.
Now, prior to the countdown was proceeding nominally. Now, keeping in mind, the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch potential issues prior to flight. There are thousands of ways a launch can go wrong and only one way that it can go right. Given that we are overly cautious on the ground, and if the team or the vehicle sees anything that looks even slightly off, they'll stop the countdown. Now, overall, the vehicle and payload are in good health. The next launch opportunity is tomorrow at 7:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Hopefully, you'll join us again for our next launch attempt. Until then, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again next time.
Well, I called it off. Said no. Guys, it's most likely that stage with 14-time reuse, you're gonna run into problems. Not problems, you're just gonna run into unexpected behavior. And if it carries if Falcon 9 sees some type of anomalous thing from that first stage, it's gonna say nah. Especially with somebody's payload on board. So, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah? 24-hour recycle on the Galaxy 3334. That still will mean that 3 Falcon 9s have launched this week. Yeah, Tan, actually, Tan, that's a good point. The last abort that they have was on one that was trying to launch 14 times, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure that's right. So, yeah, it's Intelsat, Smug. Yeah, the auto sequencer is basically looking for problems. The computer's on board. It found something it didn't like, and it said, nah. ISS welcoming speech is in 50 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so, that kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, exactly, MP. That happened once. It wasn't fun. Timberborn, until then, so, fellas, I actually have some stuff to do a little later tonight. I was going to end it on the launch, but, yeah, I'm going to pop out a little bit early tonight. Fellas, I will be back at noontime tomorrow. We will play Timberborn, and we will go right to this launch again. Shall we? Shall we? Oh, yes, shall. So, yeah, I just have to go on a little bit earlier stream. This